all looking to bring as much of the real world into sim racing as we possibly can. Our SimCraft Tilt and Pro Sim Racing pedal sets are here to elevate your rig, improve your consistency into and through the corners, and give you the ability to dial in your perfect pedal feel. Put your feet on the same pedals the pros use. From the braking zone to corner exit, get the most out of every corner with SimCraft.
Four races down, one race remaining. It is the finale of Season 5 of DGFX Endurance Series here on iRacing Live and RacespotTV. And what a venue we have for the finale. It is Autodromo Enzo Ferrari, also known as Imola. And, well, fantastic venue. And we've got 4 hours of this titanic battle for the championship, and let's get straight into the championship. And well, in your prototype class, it is Fusion Racing leading that one by 11 points ahead of Simitok Esports number 2. Simitok Esports number 1 is in 3rd place, 24 points behind the leader. The Curse Brigade in 4th, and Unicorn Endurance in 5th place. Those two, well, they just won't be able to quite make it at the end of this one, so they won't be able to go for the title, but the top 3 can still do it. In your amateur standings, in your prototypes, it is NAB Racing in the lead by 20 points ahead of Motef Racing Podcast in 2nd, 1 point ahead of RacingCommunity.de Fire, with RacingCommunity.de Water in 4th, 1 point ahead of 4X Racing HPD, so pretty close in your amateur standings. And what's interesting is that Motef Racing Podcast have set the pole position time for today. We'll get up to qualifying in just a second. Then into your pro class in GT, and well, what a standings we have here. When my standings decide to actually load up here. And well, it is Fusion Black that are in the lead by just 2 points ahead of Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva, the number 66 car. SimRC.de Melon, 18 points behind the leaders in 3rd place. TNT Racing Gold 4th, with Delta 49 Motorsports in 5th place. That's in your pro class. In your amateur class, in your GTs, it is German SimRacing.de number 11 in 1st, the 111 car should I say, in 1st, with Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva 166 in 2nd, Team Vikings Midgard in 3rd, with Bad Cactus Racing Blue in 4th, Top Freak Racing Corkscrew 5th place, just 1 point behind Bad Cactus Racing Blue. Then we'll move on to your GTC field. And these are the people who are just finishing their qualifying now. SimRC.de Lemon in 1st place, just 9 points ahead of their compatriots in the Kiwi car in 2nd place. They're 30 points behind the leader is Top Freak Racing Radio, with Berlin Sim Sport 87 in 4th, Berlin Sim Sport 194 in 5th place. Both, they're both actually joint on points. But it'd be on the better result would be Berlin Simsport number 87. And your amateurs in GTC, it is Berlin Simsport 194, 11 points ahead of Aggie Motorsports in 2nd place. The 196 of Berlin Simsport in 3rd place, with War Dogs in 4th, and Lowy Racing 5th place in those standings. And well, it is Paul Smith here. Alongside me is Randy Cheneth, and Randy, we've got the finale here around Imola. It's going to be a tricky track to race around an endurance race, because it's not the widest of the more modern facilities.
No, it's not. Imola is going to be very, very difficult in some stages of this racetrack. It's simple in some ways because of the way some of the corners are structured, but there's a handful of corners that are very, very tricky when it comes to multi-class format, especially when you have the things like the Porsches and the prototype cycling through. This might be a pretty intense one today.
And you look through those standings as we did there, and you looked at your GT standings, just 2 points between Fusion Black and Blackadder Motorsports in the 66 car. That's going to be a heck of a battle, considering that they qualified 2nd and 3rd in the race here.
That's basically, I think, going to be the battle of the race. Of course, we have championships still being decided in all of your categories, but 2 points just separating those two. It really is basically coming to this one, who beats who for them. It's not we have to finish X amount of points or X amount of positions ahead and where we get it locked in. Fusion basically has to beat that 66 to wrap up the championship, and the 66 has to beat the 8 to wrap up the championship. And all the while, the SimRC Melon car only 18 points behind. If those guys get into something, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Melon car can somehow, some way steal this championship.
Certainly could here indeed, but what we'll do then is we'll be able to take you through the qualifying standings, because qualifying is pretty much over with, and we can start off with your prototype field then. Motef Racing Podcasting do take pole position ahead of Simatoc Esport number 1 in second place. Fusion Racing third with Black and the Motorsport Wakiva 168 in fourth. Berlin Simsport in fifth. F4H Racing in 6th place with Chaos Brigade 7th. Simatoc Esport number 2 in 8th place, one of your championship contenders there, with Talk Creek Racing Sunset in 9th. Team Vikings Molnar in 10th place. We've got a 19 car field in your prototypes for you today. Then looking at your GT class at the SimRC.de Melon in 1st place, ahead of Fusion Black in 2nd, as we said. Black and Motorsport in 3rd with the 66 car. TNT Racing Gold in 4th with Talk Creek Racing Corkscrew in 5th. 6th place for Delta 49 Motorsports in the number 49 car. 7th for Black and Motorsport, the 166, with Samba Racing Team in 8th. SimRC.de Strawberry in 9th with F4H Motorsport in 10th place in that field. And then dropping down to your GTC field, your Porsche 911s, and it's Berlin Simsport number 87 in 1st place with Probatum Racing Academy in 2nd place. SimRC.de Lemon in 3rd with Top Trick Racing Radio 4th. SimRC.de Kiwi in 5th with War Dogs in 6th. Berlin Simsport number 196 in 7th. Peregrine Yellow 8th. Aggie Motorsports Blue in 9th ahead of their compatriots in the Aggie Motorsports car in 10th. And the final of the GTC cars, Berlin Simsport 194, rounds out your field. And Randy, it's not a full pace lap around here, so these drivers are just going to get a little bit of temperature in the tyres, but not too much. Track temperature 106 degrees, so quite warm, and I don't suppose you've been seeing many people double stinting these tyres.
Well, especially not in the GTE cars. We've had the recent updates to the sim where GTE cars now take fuel and tires simultaneously, so a little bit of the strategy going to be taken out of those things. But you are absolutely right. A very hot racetrack today, 78 degree ambient temperature, clear skies with 106 degrees on the track, and that track's only going to get hotter when these cars start to run laps. And you're also right here not doing a full pace lap. They grid up at the top of the racetrack, the exit of Variante Alta, then they run down in towards Ravazza, at which point the pace car will then peel off, and we will be going green flag racing, and Carl Jansen in about a minute or two's time will be in command of the field as they roll off now.
Yeah, they certainly do. So, pole position for Motef Racing Podcast. I'll be delighted with that. Carl Jansen, great time from them. Only 100th of a second quicker though in qualifying, so they're going to be under intense pressure from that Simatoc Esport number 1 car. But as they head down into Ravazza, side by side, 2x2, we'll be all set for the start of these 4 hours of Imola. Coming around that final corner now, and it's all under the right boot of your pole sitter. He's waiting for his time to shine. All your prototypes waiting patiently. It's going to wait a long time because the green light is, the green flag gets dropped a long way down the line, but he's making the break now as Motef. We're going to be green here at Imola. 4 hours of Imola in your DGFX Season 5 finale, down towards turn number 1 there, and it is Tamburella. And a good start from pole position. The rest of your field are coming through. No contact so far, that's good to see here, as your GT cars, your GT field now, they are getting ready for the start here with SimRC.de Melon and Fusion Black on the front row. They're making the break now. They're going to start down, heading down towards Tamburella for the first time. And not that far behind will be the Porsches. They'll be making their start, and they are making the break for it now. So everybody getting underway here in this final race of the season. championship implications still going to be crucial here, and some teams will be taking it easy out there, trying not to get involved in any shenanigans. But look at that already, almost a second as they head into Variante Alta for the first time here, Randy. Motef Racing Podcast trying to make that breakaway from Simotok Esport number 1.
There's only a hundredth or so of a second difference in qualifying, but here in the race, they already have a nice gap that they're managing here over Simotok Esport, down into Ravazza for the first time under race conditions, and coming to the end of their first lap of competition. So that's going to be about a minute and a half down and 4 hours left remaining in this one, as Carlos Jansen still doing his best to stretch a gap, and he's doing a good job. Seeing the same thing for Gianni Vecchio in that SimRC Milan car in your GTE field. He's been able to break away from Peter Smith in that Fusion Black machine, and Porsche's similar story as well. Savon Newman in the Berlin Simsport running away from the Verbatim Racing Academy car of Roy Ferreira.
Yeah, certainly we've got battles all the way through the field. You've got the Road Bastards have been pretty close, involved with GT Temple Racing up in your prototype class. GT Temple were thinking about making a move in towards Villeneuve, but decided against it as they head towards Tosa. Some of these legendary corner names, and well, they may have had changes over the years, but they're certainly still imposing. And well, looking back at your GT class, and it's Black and Motorsport 166 trying to go down the inside of 49 Motorsports. I believe they're the only Ford in the field here. Yep, they certainly are. And 49 Motorsports, well, they're doing it the hard way. Nobody else to help them out here. And down towards Villeneuve, and that's signed, sealed and delivered for Tommy van der Gucht in your GT field, able to get ahead there. And well, Randy, the slipstream, especially down that start and finish straight, is going to prove so crucial here in the early going to this race.
Especially at a track like this, in a lot of the segments of the racetrack, you might crank that rear wing up, and a lot of people might be somewhat confused by that because there's not that many high-speed corners, but the few high-speed corners there are very, very much load-filled. What do you see? David
Sorrento is in pit road, the number 2 car, one of your championship contenders in the pro class of prototypes. They were only 11 points behind Fusion Racing going into this race, and they're on pit road. Now, have they picked up a penalty, or have they not fueled it as much as they wanted to? Well, anyway, they're in and they're back out again. That's a rather unusual stop there.
I'm not sure what the issue was there for David Sorrento. Maybe got a penalty on the start of the race, had to come down pit road for a quick stop-and-go penalty, and luckily for them, it shouldn't be too impactful. The rest of the field just now running up towards that hairpin. They're going to have 3 and, well, basically most of that 4th hour to try to work themselves up to the front of the field. But if they have any hope of reeling the championship in, David Sorrento, he needs to make a huge amount of margin up right now. I think he needs to be on the back of that 169 machine, if not past and further up the field, by the time we get our first round of stops in 40 minutes time.
Well, this is it, though. He is in clean air here, and that's going to help him. He's just going to be able to put lap after lap after lap in here, and just able to work that without having to worry about any traffic. So it could prove actually beneficial to him throughout this race, but we'll have to wait and see how that one goes, Ryder.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because now he's got clean air. He's not going to hit the traffic as quickly, but at the same time, he just lost nearly a minute out there on the racetrack. 148 and 181, they're close and out there racing on the circuit. So nice close fight happening between those two. That's going to be the F4H racing car, as well as Sasha Lamb, the Torque Free Racing Sunset. Also have the Team Vikings prototype of Martin Tallgaard. He's getting himself in that Team Vikings Lijnor HPD out there running as well.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they're all packed together here, and that's what that slipstream can do, especially in this prototype. It relies so much on the downforce, does this one, as so that F4H car runs a little bit wide there through the exit of Villeneuve, and that's one thing that this prototype doesn't do. It doesn't do slow speed corners very well compared to your GT field, and well, there is a number of slow speed corners here. I'm thinking of the likes of Tosa and also Variante Alta as well. So, you know, there's a couple of them there. Also, Ravazza could be a bit of an issue for them. and they've got to work their way through these GT cars, so some of these GT cars will be actually getting caught out on the exit corners, some of the corners here around there, by just the difference in speed that these prototypes can carry.
Yeah, the prototypes, of course, much quicker through basically all the corners, including the slightly slower ones. So it's going to be one of those things that is going to really catch these guys out once we start hitting traffic. And, well, your race leader doing his best to maintain this gap as he starts coming up on the Porsches. Already got through the Aggie Motorsports blue machine, now working up on Steve Clay's. And the other Aggie Motorsports Porsche coming down in towards corner number 1. Will Carl get to him? Looks like the answer to that question is going to be yes, actually. Didn't think he was going to, but a decisive move there by the Moat car to get that job done.
Yeah, and this is it. Already getting into the traffic here, and we're not even 10 minutes into the race. It just goes to show the differences in the cars here. When you consider the pull time for your prototypes was a 1:33.2, the pull time for your GTCs and your Porsches was 1:45. So it goes to show that difference in pace there between the fastest and the slowest category cars really is a massive difference here. And already getting involved in that lap traffic. Looking through your field, then still that battle going on with F4H. And of course they're getting caught up in traffic now through the right and left-hander of Piratella, heading down towards Acqua Minerale. One of my favourite corners this, I do have to say. A challenging corner, you've got to get your braking right, because you go through that first part of Acqua Minerale pretty quick, but you've got to be turning and braking at the same time. It's so easy to lock up a brake there, and it's so easy to get your braking wrong going into Variante Alta as well.
Yeah, there's a couple really tricky corners on this racetrack. With the loss of Tamburello, it's most of the first half of the laps relatively easy. The Tregardo chicane, Villeneuve, Tosa, all pretty much straightforward. Piratella's a little bit tricky, but Acqua Minerale, Variante Alta, and Ravazza, the last three real sections of the racetrack through the final half of the lap, all very difficult braking zones. Acqua Minerale and Ravazza, you have downhill braking. That makes it very easy to carry way too much speed into the corner and shoot off wide. And what happened?
Almost a big accident there. The Roadbusters green, they're into the pit wall there. They went 3 wide with a back marker, and they were also trying to overtake a car, and they got squeezed up into the wall there. It was NAB Racing taking more of a normal line, not expecting that GTC car to be still there. NAB able to carry on, but I think the Road Bastards, they're going to have some serious damage to that car.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be too happy about that. Not sure what Alwyn Kloosterman was trying to do there, coming across the track like that. Maybe, like you said, didn't expect that prototype up the middle, but I'm not sure. That seemed a little aggressive there by Alwyn in that NAB Racing prototype. And
we've also had an issue for the number 3 car up at Variante Alta as well. Was lapping back markers, lost control into the wall, and we have got a yellow flag. Caution is out. This is first caution of the day. And we're on the 9 minutes into the race here, Randy. And yeah, I think it's going to be for that TNT Racing black instant.
Certainly seems to be. Benjamin Lindsay opting to go for the toe there, and that's going to bring us out into yellow flag conditions here. And pick yellow here, and that's actually going to be fortunate for that Road Bastards green machine. That might give them a chance to run down pit lane, get some repairs on that number 92, and not really lose too much time. So Svan Walder likely, he's not going to be happy with the contact, but he'll be happy that he can come down pit road here and be penalized much less than he would under green conditions.
I'll tell you what, who else it's going to favour as well. It's the Simatok number 2 car as well. It's bringing him right back into that prototype pack once again.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Now they're going to be, because they've gotten through, I think, most of the slower traffic. Yeah, they're pretty much through the Porsche field. Handful of Porsches. Actually, no, I take that back. They're basically on the tail end of it, but not everyone is there as well. So, but regardless, they're going to be very happy to basically get that little mistake, whatever it was that happened at the top of the race, somewhat forgiven here and be stacked back up.
This is it. So while we have a quick moment here, let's just quickly run you through your standings as they are at the moment. The top 8 in your prototypes. It is Motef Racing Podcast. They had made that breakaway, but unfortunately this caution now means that everyone's going to be close back up there. Simotalk Esport number 1 is in 2nd place. That's the team that is in 3rd place in the championship. They really need to win and hope that Fusion Racing end up with a DNF in this one to be able to win the championship. Bam Wakiva, the number 168, is in 3rd place in this race with Berlin Simsport LMP in 4th. Fusion Racing Championship leaders in your Prototype Pro class are in 5th place. Colfrit Racing Sunset in 6th, with Chaos Brigade 7th, and Team Viking Sportart in 8th place. In your GTC field, it is SimRC.de Melon in 1st place, with Fusion Black. Peter Smith there behind the wheel in 2nd place. 3rd place for Black Anna Motorsport Wakiva, so they've pretty much stayed as they were for the start of this race, and that's the 2 Pro Championship contenders there battling it out in this one. 4th place with Top Freak Racing Corkscrew. Adam Shipstone is behind the wheel of that one with TNT Racing Gold in 5th. Black Anna Motorsport Wakiva 166 is in 6th place, with FH Motorsports in 7th, and Delta 49 Motorsports, the only Ford out there today, in 8th place in the GT field. And in the GTC field, it is Berlin Simsport 1st place with SimRC.de 11 2nd, Probatum Racing Academy in 3rd with Top Creek Racing Radio in 4th, SimRC.de Kiwi 5th with Peregrine Yellow 6th, Aggie Motorsports in 7th place with Aggie Motorsports Blue in 8th place here. And also just a quick moment to mention a couple of the partners of this series, and well, partners here all the way through this season. Always good to get their support. DIYsim.com, a simcraft company. DIYsim.com is your go-to source for all of your sim racing pedals, motion system, motion chassis kits need. The next evolution of making it amazing and attainable, establishing the sole marketplace for the result of these 2 pursuits. It combines enthusiasts and DIY types with the most versatile and technically accurate motion system technology ever created. That's DIYsim.com, a simcraft company. And also, DGFX is brought to you with My Opinion, Therefore Fact Racing Podcast. A couple of race fans presenting opinion as fact, with F1 and NASCAR and a bit of iRacing added for good measure. Make sure you check out moatf.com, that's MOATF.com, for their podcasts. Thank you to them for their support all the way through this season. And well, the lights are out on the pace car here, so we're just going to have under a lap here to go, Randy. And if you're that MoTef Racing podcast car, you must be as much as you will be disappointed that that little gap that you created has been just wiped out, you kind of expect it in a series like this where you have got those safety car periods.
Yeah, you have to be prepared, and we've seen a lot of yellows, and we saw a handful of virtual safety cars last time out at Le Mans, so it's sort of something you have to just sort of accept and know that it's going to be a thing. So now if you're Carl Jansen, you just need to get back on with it and start running hard laps again and hope that you can reel that gap to Emmanuel Galliner in that Simotalk Esport number 1 machine and reel that back out. But unfortunately, if you are that Moaf car, not going to have the traffic in front of you to help out because you're going to be leading this entire field to green. So while you will have some clean air in some ways, because Carl was so good through the traffic, not having that traffic is actually, I think, maybe going to be a little bit of a curse rather than a blessing.
But at least they've been able, all of the cars have been able to just back off, just dial out the fuel mix, get it onto the really leanest mix possible, just to eke out just that little bit of extra fuel to go as long as possible to make that final stop, because it's all about that final stop, Randy, in a race like this. Make it as short as possible.
Yeah, it really is. You want to get yourself as deep as you can, burn as little fuel as you can every single run, and make it so that you can take as small a quantity as you can in that final run. You don't want to fuel save too much. You don't want to slow yourself up, but fuel management and fuel strategy in a race like this always ever so important.
Well, we're getting ready for the restart here in this one, heading in towards Rivatsa once again, and the iRacing pace car at the head of the field taking us round there. And that car will pop off to the right into pit road and will be under green flag conditions. There it goes into pit road. Motev they can't go early. They can't go early, they've got to wait for the acceleration zone. Everyone bunched up behind here. And almost some contact in the background, but they're going to go now. There's the jump there, the green flag is out. And we're back under green flag conditions, and straight away Berlin Simsport looking to make the move here, and Blackadder Motorsport for third place. Down in towards the first chicane once again. Left, right, left. Not able to change any positions yet. Team Vikings, look at this gaggle of cars here with Prototype trying to make it through. Team Vikings are going to lose a position here possibly. Unicorn Endurance trying to take advantage of that traffic here through the first chicane into the second chicane onto the brakes, and that's a position lost for Team Vikings, the 73 car, but they run wide to the Unicorn Endurance car down in towards Tosa once again. And well, here we go, away they go out of Tosa. They're sorting themselves out, and this is the difficulty when you've got back markers mixed in with that queue after the caution there, Randy. You restart, you've got to be careful not to get involved in any incidents, but you've also got to be careful not to lose any positions as well.
You also need to be careful if you're one of those slower class cars. If you look at David Barraclough, he has basically the entirety of the prototype field cycling through him at once now. Probatum Racing, they're in the same effect, but you're absolutely right. You have to be very, very careful with how you try to pick up spots after a restart like this. You have classes intermingled amongst one another. You need to have a certain level of aggression, but you also have to have a certain level of patience and knowing when a move, even though the door might be slightly open, when you shouldn't go for that move.
And we have got a stop and go penalty, 1 lap stop and hold for NAB Racing, not leaving racing room there in that incident that we saw earlier on with the pit wall and the Roadbusters green. Well, the Roadbusters, they have been in the pits. It was quite a long pit stop as well to get some of that damage repaired, get the front clip changed, but certainly a 1 lap stop and hold. It's a harsh penalty, but to be honest, they were 3 wide right there.
Yeah, I would say it's a very well-deserved penalty as well, but I think they're going to be a little upset about that as Alwyn Kusterman, because since we've gone back to green, because we had that caution, we have an incident in front of Alwyn though. Prototype facing the wrong way, 3 or 4 cars in fact off in the dirt. Simitok's involved, as well as Von Neumann in the Berlin Simsport number 87.
Yeah, that's the number 2 Simitok car, and this is the problem of them dropping back, having going into the pits early. They've ended up dropping right down there, and that was down at the Villeneuve chicane. And how on earth did that happen? It was just all getting caught up there.
Blackadder,
yeah.
They went into that chicane, and they basically they drilled the back of the 87, and then I think there was a secondary incident between Simitok behind. They were just trying to avoid the incident, and they essentially just pit maneuvered themselves. I think that was just avoiding situation.
And that prototype punted your GTC leader. So Berlin Simsport, Sven Neumann, was in the lead of GTC. He's not anymore. He's down to 4th place after that incident there. He's taken a compromised line into Variante Alta as well. He shouldn't have too much damage, because that's the thing with this Porsche here for GTC. It can take a few knocks, not too many, but it can take a knock or two, as V-Apex Racing GT Blue, the number 113, they're off the track here. They've had a bit of an issue coming out of Variante Alta, and it was contact with a GT car, and I believe it was Blackadder 167, so a couple of Blackadder cars getting involved in incidents here, Andy.
A lot of drama happening already here on this restart. You know that most of these teams, most of these drivers, they aren't going to be too happy about that, as there's a number of prototypes that got involved in that incident on the first couple laps of this restart, now finding themselves well down the order.
As NAB come in for their stop and hold then. Blackadder Motorsport, the 168, looking for that second place in the race into Variante Alta. Thank you very much. That's a position gained there on the Simitok number 1 car. Meanwhile, Motev Racing, they'll be loving that. Those two fighting means that they'll be able to pull away here in that one. FH Racing, they're going side by side, and Unicorn Endurance have made the move on them into Variante Alta as well. So some early moves going on in your prototype classes. Everyone trying to sort themselves out. In GTC field, by the way, SimRC.de Melon lead that one by about 2 seconds ahead of Fusion Black. Fusion Black doing exactly what they need to for their championship and just staying in that second place ahead of Blackadder Motorsports number 66. And well, we saw earlier that the GTC field got a bit mixed up because of that incident down at the Villeneuve chicane, and it's now SimRC.de Lemon in the lead of that one ahead of Probatum Racing Academy with Top Freak Racing in third. So everything could happen here, and of course it is the number 76 car, the Lemon car, that is in the lead of the GTC Pro Championship here, Andy. And well, drama aplenty in this race so far, and the number 2 car not doing well for its championship, getting involved in little issues early on in this race, but there's only the small matter of 3 hours and 38 minutes to go in this one.
Yeah, and Lord knows if we might end up getting some more full course yellows or if anything happens with that, but I'm still just watching this Unicorn Endurance car. They've done a good job over the last handful of laps fighting their way through traffic, just putting their heads down and showing everyone the horn, and pretty much everyone getting out of the way. And they're right now reeling in Justin Juhas in that Chaos Brigade car. He's reeled him in quickly since getting by the F4H Racing Machine. I think we're going to see Chaos Brigade break into the top 5 here within this hour if they can manage this pace.
They certainly do. And well, Chaos Brigade, we've seen them getting involved and getting stuck in races, maybe not had the best qualifying pace, but then had the race pace to move forward in this series. There is a warning as well for the car 81, which is Top Freak Racing. We've got an incident in your prototypes, and that is Team Vikings Mona. They're upside down going into Rivatsa. What on earth has happened there? And it was going into Rivatsa, contact between them, and it was ER competition, the 28 car, and that's brought the caution flag out. We've got enough caution in this race here, Randy.
Yeah, unfortunate for Team Vikings Mjolnir. I think perhaps that Thor called for his hammer, and because of that, Martin had to check back into Valhalla. But that was a big impact for the Team Vikings car, upside down on the wall, and that's pretty much, I think, day done for them. They might be able to get that car somewhat repaired, but there's no way it's going to be driving straight ever again.
Yeah, they have taken the tour there. I was just about to mention the car 81 is Top Freak Racing Radion. David Barraclough have been given a warning for exceeding track limits in this one. So already Race Control having a bit of a busy time of it here. And, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. See, now, because we're only coming up to, 24 minutes completed in this one, if you're in one of the prototypes, would you be tempted to take a pit stop now, or would it be just a case of just waiting out until you hit your pit numbers?
I think that based on how long this, just the way this race has gone, I would honestly stay out and maintain the track position. Yeah, fuel strategy would be awesome, but because you have so many of these GT cars that are they're just lined up in a row. So if you're a prototype, you come down pit lane. For example, if you're Moab, if you come down pit road right now, you're getting put behind literally the entire GT field. I don't think it'd be worth it. I think just staying out and maintaining that track position for now is going to be best, especially with some of the chaos we've seen only within the first 20 minutes.
FH Motorsports, they have got a penalty here for avoidable contact, 60-second stop and hold. Obviously they won't be getting it yet whilst we're under caution. That'll be done once the green flag is waving once again here. And well, we could just take a moment then whilst we're looking at this then. Look at your championship contenders, see how they're getting on. Fusion Racing, the leaders of your pro class and your prototypes, they are they are in 5th place at the moment. Their championship rivals, the number 2 Simatop car, down in 15th in class, so absolute nightmare of a day for them. And if you're Fusion Racing, you've just got to keep doing what you're doing and don't get involved in any incidents here. The number 1 Simatop car is 24 points behind, so it's still mathematically possible to win this championship. But as we saw, Blackadder Motorsports made a move on them, so drop them down to 3rd. They need to win and hope that Fusion Racing end up out of this race. That's in your pro class. In your amateur class, in the prototypes, when my page decides to actually catch up with me here, we are looking at the standings now. And, well, NAB Racing, they had that penalty earlier on for squeezing. That's not going to be good for them in the amateurs. They're right down to pretty much last in your prototype class. Motef Racing Podcast, they're 20 points behind. I don't think they could actually do it because it's only 18 points for a win, so they're 20 points behind. So NAB Racing, they're pretty much sealed for that one. But it's that battle for second place. Motef Racing Podcast, RacingCommunity.de Fire, and RacingCommunity.de Water. Now, do you see them two in the race here, Randy?
I'm sorry, what?
I don't see the racing community teams at all in this race.
I don't either. So
they had the chance of finishing second in this championship. And so that's them gone. And Forex Racing HPD, they are in this race. They're in 14th place in class. But of course, they're not going to end up with that second place because Motef are currently leading this one. So, possible third place then for Forex Racing. Your GT Pro. Let's have a look at how the championship contenders are doing. Well, they're second and third. Fusion Black and Black and Motorsports, the second and third here. And, well, there's only 2 points between them as we're waiting for this caution to finish here. And 2 points between them two there, but CMRC.de Melon as well. They're in the lead of this race here in the GT field. They're in that Pro Championship. They're in third place, only 18 points behind your leaders, Fusion Black. So pretty close between the three of them there, but I think CMRC.de Melon here, Randy, they've got to hope for a little bit of an instant, a little bit of shenanigans to go on between Fusion Black and Black and Motorsports.
yeah, they do, and the way this race is going, they might just be able to get it because it has been sort of an action-packed race. This is already yellow number 2 within just the first half hour. So if we keep up like this, pretty much anything is possible. Hopefully we'll go back to green flag racing here relatively soon. I think lights should go out on the pace car this time by. I think they just need to get the rest of the wave rounds complete, get everyone stacked up, and I think we should be going back to racing. But that Melon car, they're doing pretty much all they can right now. Johnny Vecchio leading his class and having a bit of a gap over Peter Smith in that Fusion Black machine, but he needs to try to open that up as much as he can, as he said, and hope that something befalls that number 8 machine.
Certainly do. As looking in your amateur standings for the GT field, GermanSimRacing.de, they've got that one sealed there, but it's that battle once again. It's the same as in the pros. In the amateurs, in your prototypes and your GT amateurs, that battle for second place pretty close. Black and Motorsport, the 166 car, they're in 6th place at the moment. They are just 3 points ahead of Team Vikings Midgard. And Team Vikings Midgard, where are they on the standings? They're down 13th. Well. No, they're 13th there. Torranders Berven, they're in 13th. So not going well for them there. Bad Cactus Racing Blue, they are 10th overall in class as well. They're the ones in 4th place, with Talk Freak Racing Corkscrew in 5th in the championship, which is 1 point behind them, and they're up in 4th place. So going to be pretty close for that second place in your amateur standings in GT class and in your GTC field. So in the Porsches, in the pro class, it is Lemon that's leading the race, and they lead the championship by 9 points ahead of Kiwi, the compatriots, who are down in 5th place in class. Buckfeet Racing Radion, they can't win the championship because they're 30 points behind. So the championship battle is just between Lemon and Kiwi, the two teammates at the moment. Lemon has got the upper hand here. And in your amateur standings as well in GTC, it's Berlin Simsport 194, who are currently 42nd overall in the field. That's 8th place in the GCC class ahead of Aggie Motorsports in the championship. Now, Aggie Motorsports have been on pit road and they're down in 47th, so that's down in 11th place in class. Building Sim Sport 196, they can win the championship as well in the amateur standings, and they're down in 10th place in the class as well in the race. So Building Sim Sport, the 194, currently in the hot seat for this one, as we're still having to wait for the cars that have been given the waiver by to get caught up. And of course the pit window is open here. They do allow you to make a pit stop here under caution, and we're seeing a few cars decide to come in here, mainly the cars that were further down in your prototype field here, Randy.
Also some GT cars as well, and I think we have the 49 Motorsports machine at Dexter Castro, and if I remember right, I think they actually came down at the last yellow. So if that's the case, that's somewhat confusing. If not, they ended up getting put on the back foot and somehow lost a bunch of space somehow. But a handful of cars. Actually, yeah, they did come down pit lane at the last caution. That's interesting from that 49 Motorsports machine, deciding to come down. This is their second stop within a half hour. To a certain extent, you sort of have to start really relying on that track position. But then again, they had already lost most of their track position anyway, so.
Well, yeah, it's we'll see how all this pans out towards the end of the race. The majority of cars have stayed out, but a good chunk of your GT field has come onto pit road. Normally the top 10 haven't in your GT field. GTCs, they've pretty much stayed out. Only the teams that have been involved in incidents have come down onto pit road in your GTC field. But everybody just waiting it out here. We've got another lap of this pacing to go here, Randy. Talk about 49 Motorsports in that Ford, the only Ford in your GT field. I mean, just how difficult is it going to be for them against the sea of Ferraris here today?
Well, it's a sea of Ferraris, and Imola is the track that I think is going to favor the Ferrari a lot. The Ford is, it typically is. It's good around the higher downforce circuits, quicker circuits. Imola, there really isn't much of the racetrack that I would say ever favors this car, so it's going to be rough for them trying to drive up through the field. Maybe they'll be somewhat behind some cars they feel that they can drive their way through and get to that mid-pack early, but we've seen the Ferraris in a handful of championships, SCO, this championship, and Neo. The Ferraris have been really, really strong. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, they're so even, especially some of the top drivers, but don't see really any of the top teams ever in the Ford, and well, we don't see many top fives come down the road from that Ford across the championships. I've been watching it thus far, so apparently they're all even, and that's why no one drives it, and why we don't see it up amongst the top five more often.
What I would say is possibly that the Ferrari is easier to drive at the limit. I think it's a more forgiving car than the Ford, which acts more like a prototype, doesn't it? It's more sort of aero dependent is that Ford compared to the Ferrari, which is more along the lines of a traditional GT car.
Yeah, I mean the Ford suspension-wise is a lot more like a prototype. It uses things like torsion bars and whatnot rather than actual traditional spring and shock setup, which is what the actual Ferrari uses. Much more traditional, coilover system in the Ferrari, and for that reason, it's a little bit easier not only to set up, but it's also easier just to get your head around because the car is going to be a little bit less stiff than that Ford is just for that reason. Whereas the Ford has, like I said, it's much more, its suspension and the way the chassis is actually built is a little bit more like a prototype or an open wheel car.
Absolutely. Don't forget to get involved with us via social media. Make sure you check out the Facebook page for RacespotTV. That's facebook.com/RacespotTV, and also on the Twitter as well. And you'll be able to see all the information at the top of the screen. And yeah, get involved with us. Make sure you check us out and say hello. Because you never know, you might even get your tweet on the screen, because we'll certainly be looking across social media to see how people are finding this race and how they're finding the championship as a whole, because the championship battle is going to be right through the different classes is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. And we're certainly going to be trying to keep you up to date with everything that's going on in this one. We've got about half a lap remaining on this caution period, and it is that Motef Racing Podcast, the My Opinion Therefore Fact Racing Podcast car at the head of the field, and it is, as we say, second in the amateur standings in your prototype class. Can't get that first place, unfortunately, but what a result that would be for them. Classed as amateurs, Randy, and they're currently leading this race after the first half hour.
They have to be happy about that, because while there's been some yellows that have maybe aided them slightly and meant that there's been a dozen or so laps where they weren't they could not actually be challenged whatsoever under green flag conditions, they actually have stretched a big margin when they've had the opportunity. So that Moab car and Carl Jansen, he has been very, very quick. How will his teammate do of David Lee Patterson when he gets into that car at some point over the course of this race? Where will that 117 machine end up finding themselves, once the driver swaps start cycling through? Because the way this race has been run, they've been the clear favorites.
As well, the Blackadder Motorsport car in second place has been aggressively trying to put heat into its front tyres here for the restart here, and Alex Ellis is looking eager to try and get the jump here on Carl Jansen. As we're heading into Rivatsa once again. This will be the end of lap 17 of this race. We've had 2 cautions, and well, a big incident brought out that last caution for that Team Vikings Molinar 73 car. But anyway, that Porsche, that roof GT car, will be pulling off to the right there into pit road, and now we're waiting for the green flag, and it is the Motef Racing Podcast car once again controlling the field. Blackadder Motorsports just coming out from behind the wing. They want to be able to get that jump. The 117 car controlling that field. Will they go early? Will they go late? They're leaving it very late. Now they go here. They've got the jump over Blackadder Motorsports. Blackadder Motorsports not getting the start that they wanted there. Dropping back just a couple of tenths as they're heading in towards the first chicane. We've got side-by-side action further back in your prototypes as well. ER competition, GermanSimRacing.de and Forex HBD. They're all battling it out, but sorting themselves out into single file here as we're heading on towards the second chicane here, the Villeneuve chicane. Everybody came through, and of course lap traffic is involved here in this queue of traffic. Fusion Black, Peter Smith just led a Simitok car through from your prototypes. He's got that second place in your GT field as they're heading up towards Piratella once again through that left-hander, and certainly Fusion Black in the ideal spot for them, really. Could keep up with Mellon, the SimRC.de Mellon car, to try and keep them out of the championship picture, and they're ahead of Blackadder Motorsports. It's a perfect position for them, second in class, and they will be hoping to just stay there to get that championship for them. GTC field, by the way, Probatum Racing Academy, they've got Berlin Simsport. They were the leaders earlier on in that class until they got involved in an incident with a prototype car. Probatum under attack, and they're actually attacking the SimRC.de Lemon car in towards Rivatsa once again through the left-handers. And now out that second part of Rivatsa, heading towards the start and finish line once again. Across the line they go, and Probatum here, Randy, they're wanting that position. They want to get the lead here, 0.2 of a second behind using the slipstream, but that SimRC.de Lemon car able to use the slipstream of that prototype ahead.
Porsche is very, very slippery, and it's something interesting we've had come through. Chris McGrath was black flagged. That's the Blackadder number 169 machine. 60-second stop and hold for him, as well as Ernie Liebig. So a couple of penalties coming down the pipe here, Paul.
Yeah, race control busy early on in this race. And we've got a battle at Roadmasters Green and Blackadder Motorsport, the 169. In fact, swapping positions there. And the Roadmasters Green, of course, have been involved in incident themselves. Had a damaged car. They've managed to fix it up pretty much. And there's also a warning for the 167. And the 167.
That's the other Blackadder car.
Yeah. So Blackadder Motorsport.
Blackadder, come on.
They're getting involved here, that's for sure. They're not afraid to get involved. And SimRC.de Kiwi, that is the which car is that? That's the in your GTC field, number 79. They've got a 60-second stop and hold for avoidable contact as well.
Another Blackadder car got a warning.
Yeah, the 168. So Blackadder pushing the limits, and that's a second place car, don't forget. The 168 is second place in this race here, Randy. They don't want to be throwing away an opportunity of getting a win here in this one.
They must be pushing really, really hard to be catching the eye of the stewards just for track limits. They're trying to stay with Carl Jansen the best they can in that Moat Racing podcast car, but I don't know. They're the entirety of the Blackadder team. That's just amusing to me that 3 of the 4 cars show up, and within a lap, all of them get either a penalty or a warning for something or another.
Dolphin Racing Sunset have just lost a position to GT Temple Racing, the number 5 car, on the exit of Tosa. Got a better run out that corner and was able to out-drag them up the hill towards Piratella. So GT Temple up to 7th place. Chaos Brigade, as we said, have just made a little bit of a breakaway of it from those cars. And they're now 7.5 seconds behind Fusion Racing in 5th place. They're going to try and chase them down, and we've seen that Chaos Brigade car come good through the race and get really on it towards the end of the race in previous races, Randy, especially around Le Mans last time out.
Yeah, Le Mans had been an interesting one as well. We had a lot of big incidents in that one, didn't we? And you know, Imola sort of it provides its own unique challenge, and maybe these guys they got a little bit used to the drawn out nature of Le Mans, and you know that race we had a lot of cautions early, and then it cleaned up. Here, maybe like I said, it's almost 3 times the length, isn't it, over a lap? So maybe the people a little bit used to that, and now with everything a little bit more stacked up, not voting nearly as well.
As Top Fit Racing Sunset, Sasha Lamp was coming under pressure from Unicorn Endurance. Not the best run through the first chicane for Unicorn. They're actually coming under pressure now from the German SimRacing.de car of Oliver Kemsat as they go through Tosa. And, well, these cars, they're going through, got a penalty for the 196 car for avoidable contact. That's Berlin Simsport. And that is the car in your GT field, I believe? Or is it in the GTC? It's in the GTC. The last place GTC car, the 196, they're getting a stop and hold for avoidable contact. So 60 seconds is that penalty. Race control, and I've been there, I know it's very contentious with you, Randy, is live stewarding. It is good that we have live stewarding because it means that people are getting penalties in the race. The downside to that is that teams can't really appeal that decision, really. I mean, they can sort of speak to race control, but there's not a lot you can really do about it as we're looking at your 121 and your 161 in GTC. That's War Dogs and Peregrine Yellow.
Yeah, close fight between these two as they work themselves now about the midway part of the second through Piratella down towards this tight right-hander here, as I'm forgetting my corner names here. Yeah, Aqua Minerale. There it is. I said it backwards. But yeah, it's always good to have the live stewards that can dish out penalties live, and teams can sort of appeal it almost immediately by trying to communicate with the race stewards, maybe giving their side of the story, giving their case. But more often than not, it seems to me like a decision such as that is never going to be overturned. And in the DGFX series, everyone can come under the scrutiny of race control, because I think we've had one of each car from each class
change
get a penalty.
lead.
What do you see?
Change of lead. Motef, they've lost the lead to Blackadder Motorsports, and I have a funny feeling that they've got
gotta
a slow down
down.
penalty. Yep, on the exit Aqua Minerale, they ran out wide, made that one mistake. That's all it takes, one little mistake, and that's a position gone. So change your lead there. Black and a Motorsport, Alex Ellis has been pushing the limits as the 196 car gets out their way at Rivazza. They've got the lead now in that 196 car, and they're going to try and just push away now here, Randy. They want to gap out Motorf Racing podcast car.
The 196 car coming down pit road, and you're right. Are they going to be able to do it, though, as they run down this long front straightaway in towards corner number 1, and Carl Hansen not quite able to get there? This is going to be something that's really, really interesting to watch. Are there difference in downforce levels between these cars? We've seen IndyCar races here that are super exciting because you can run so many different levels of downforce on this track. Of course, the prototype low, medium, and high downforce trims. Is everyone opting for low or medium around this place, or someone running a higher trim setup? Look to me like your top two likely under the same trim. The Slipstream not really doing much for Carl Hansen, that Moab car.
Yeah, certainly not, but he'll be getting a ton of slipstream, which means it'll help him with his fuel saving throughout the race, and he'll be able to keep pushing even though he's got that slipstream, but it will affect his high-speed downforce through the corners, like into Aqua Minerale. Doesn't make that mistake that time, but certainly able to hold it through this time by just half a second between the two of them. Third place battle as well is hotting up. Simitok Esport number 1, late on the brakes into Aqua Minerale, into Valiente Alta, sorry. Clattered all over those curbs there. They're under serious pressure from the 27 Berlin Simsport car. Tobias Schultz as they're heading downhill towards Rivazza once again. This is going to be the end of lap 23. The Berlin Simsport, they are looking keen. They want that position here. And Simitok number 1 just looked to be getting a little bit flustered here, Andy, and was making just a little mistake here and there, not quite hitting apexes ideally.
Yeah, and coming down now in towards corner number 1, that Berlin Simsport machine is a little bit of a run. He looks to the outside, passes his GTC compatriot, but no move being made just yet. All the while, the Fusion car of Neil Andrews lurking in the background of this fight, just about a second back. What do you see?
And look at the traffic ahead of them now as well. The leader is going through this GTC field, this GTC traffic, and now these prototypes, they're going to have to try and make their way through as well, because you've got to remember that these GTC cars, they're all battling for position as well. The Berlin Simsport 27 car got it all wrong there on the exit of Tosa, almost got caught up in the Aki Motorsports car. Now Fusion Racing, they're putting the pressure on Berlin Simsport now for 4th place in this race.
Everyone is pushing really, really hard right now as Neil Andrews has an opportunity to maybe get himself up into that 4th spot, and Carl Hansen has reeled in Alex Ellis thanks to all that traffic. They're pretty much through that first half of wave of Porsches, really. But give it another few laps, and your race leaders will be in amongst another handful of Porsche traffic. You're going to have the likes of David Barraclough, Van Newman, as well as that SimRC Lemon car, and Roy Ferreira. And that Probatum car, by the way, they just took the race lead on this lap. So Roy Ferreira, he leads here on lap number 23.
Race control is going to be busy. The student's going to be busy after the race. They're keeping an eye on track limits, and they've got quite a few listed here on the instance. So certainly they're going to be keeping themselves busy, and well, I don't envy them for this one, to be honest, Randy, because track limits around here, they can be abused, but not greatly abused, though, I don't feel.
There's a couple that can be sort of pushed, but it's just one of those things where every category is different. I know Neo used to be very, very strict on track limits and actually car-to-car contacts, because I once actually got a penalty in a Neo race for making a slight contact with a car under yellow. But it's one of those things that almost every single championship is a little bit different, and every set of stewards has their own set of things that they're relatively, especially we're on the fight for the race lead. I see it, Carl Jensen making the move around the outside, not quite make it stick though. That Porsche made things a little bit difficult for him.
Yeah, it certainly is, and well, Motorf Racing Podcast, they may be classed as amateurs, but they're certainly giving one heck of a showing here in the lead battle here. Getting all a bit crossed up there on the exit of Valiente Alta. through the chicane. It's a tight chicane. You've got to use the curbs at that point. Oh, Probatum! Oh, almost getting involved with both your leaders there. Well done to keep out their way there. That was a scary moment. I think both the leaders might need a change of underpants after that one, Randy.
Yeah, that one, Roy Ferrari in that Probatum car, he wasn't very decisive in how he placed his car. He just sort of stuck himself in the middle of the track, and then he basically just started, driving off to the left when that Moab car tried to go around the left-hand side. Because they're carrying so much speed, they're always going to try to go around the outside there. So little indecisive.
Oh!
Probatum with your prototype leader, tags the Ferrari, and Moab retakes the lead.
And that's a Blackadder Motorsport car that they almost got into the back of there. Bit of miscommunication between the two teams under the same stable there. The 168, you saw that after the chicane, just had to get onto the brakes, and thank you very much, Motef Racing Podcast. They go through, they'll be loving that. I think that Alex Ellis might have a few choice words to say to his teammates there, Randy.
Which is really, really odd. You'd think Blackadder would be getting enough heat from the stewards. Now they got to get it from their teammates racing in completely other categories.
That's it. I mean, this is it. This is a joy of multi-class racing. You've got the different car categories all racing on the one track, but they're all involved in their own battles here, and it's what makes it so good. So yeah, you're going to have your prototypes getting involved in traffic, and they're going to win some, they're going to lose some. But you can't get involved in other people's races because they're all battling away for positions themselves. As we've got a battle between the 49 Motorsport car and also the 172 Team Vikings Midgard car. Look at how close they're going, and Dexter Castro trying to use the slipstream as much as he can. Doesn't seem to quite be able to get past. He's looking to the inside now, but decided against it here, Randy. This is the battle for 12th and 13th in your GT field.
We know that Dexter Castro taking that strategy call under both cautions that we've had and coming down pit lane and filling it up, so he's a little bit off kilter here in terms of strategy. Race leaders now, they're going to be cycling through in just a moment, as Carl Hansen lurking just behind that 49 Motorsports machine. Now they go into the hairpin, and everyone's really, really wide there. No one really actually made that apex very well at all, and race leader, he's going to cycle through on the left, should get both of these cars up here at the top of Piratella.
What about that Blackadder Motorsport car? He's going to dive down the inside at Piratella of one and of the other as well. Dexter Castro, if he's clever, he can follow him through here. They're going to go side by side into Acre Minerale, and that's Dexter Castro through there. Good thinking there. Saw the opportunity open up, took up advantage of that opportunity. Sasha Lamp, Top Crit Racing, is on pit road now for a pit stop. Coming up to the hour mark, actually, this race already, Randy. It's flown by as this one. So your prototypes will be heading towards that pit window. And this is where we'll get to see who has done the good job of saving that fuel, who's done the good job of working that traffic and getting your timing right for your pit stop. And Sasha Lamp from Top Crit Racing Sunset is the first one to blink here.
With all the yellows we've had, we should be able to see these cars go a little bit longer than normal. We normally see these prototypes, they hit about 45 to 50-ish minutes, but with all the yellow laps we ran within this first stretch of the race, I think we're likely to be able to hit the hour mark here, as we're still about 6 minutes short of that. So while the pit window normally would be open about now for the guys who have not stopped yet, I think likely within about the next 10 minutes is when we're likely to see them.
Certainly are. A little bit of battling going on in your GT field, and it is between the 166 Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva car and the 77 Simel Strawberry car. They've also got TNT Racing Gold in front of them, with also the Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva number 66 car. So it's a 4-car train there, all battling over third place in your GT field. All Ferraris in this queue of cars, and going through that chicane, Variante Alta. Tricky chicane to get right, Randy. You've got to clip those curbs, but you've got to be careful not to hit them too hard to damage your car.
Yeah, I mean, Imola, for that reason, is one of the tracks I really, really dislike. I can never seem to beat Aqua Minerale right, and I hate the Variante Alto with a passion of the driver as well. So it's fun to watch cars go through it, but it's so difficult inside of the car, and such a frustrating circuit to drive. I know a lot of people like this circuit. for those reasons I just described. But it's paying up my Imola for me for sure.
I absolutely love Imola. It's fantastic. I love throttle launching over the curbs, but then again, I am a touring car driver, not a GT driver.
It's one thing in a Kia, you throw that Ford that's like stiffer than the universe. It will not move when you go over the curb. Well, it will move after it hits the wall when you throw it over the curb too hard. But
well, this battle here, as I say, over third place in your GT field, they're all just sort of staying put at the moment, not making any moves, as they've got Sacha Lamp coming up behind them, who's had their pit stop now. 1 minute 55 actually stopped though, so it was a long stop for that Top Fit Racing Sunset car, possibly getting some damage repaired on that car. But these three now batting away. Chaos Brigade, by the way, now to 11th place. What's happened to them? The last lap was 1 minute 40. They must have had something happen.
They maybe just come down pit road at the last caution.
No, I'm not showing any pit stops for them at all here. That's a bit unusual because they were up in the top 7 or 8 earlier on. Down to 11th place for them, so can't really see anything in the lap times either, Andy.
They likely came down pit road because I know Hugo, when we were talking about that 49 Motorsports machine coming down pit lane, Hugo said the same thing, that he didn't show a pit stop on 22 either. But I'm not seeing a pit road trip for them manually cycling through. Not sure.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, anyway, that battle for third in your GTs is just split up a little bit here into two little packs now. And the third and fourth place cars, Black and Motorsport and TNT Racing Gold. Battle now. Oh, well, the Black and Motorsport's making the move there on SimRC.de Strawberry. In fact, it was the Strawberry car having to get out of it. Little mistake from them. Oh, they missed a brake marker there. Almost ended up wiping out the back of that Black and Motorsport 166 car into your first chicane, but able to avoid them. So, lucky for them, Evan Merrill doing a good job of avoiding them, but it's dropped him back 3.5 seconds now. Just one little mistake under braking into that first chicane.
It's so easy to do here because that first long straightaway is so long. It doesn't look it, but it is actually about as long as the front straight at Monza. The only reason the speeds are lower here is because Lavazza is so much slower than the final corner at Monza. So, but long time you spend on that straightaway, and easy to have a lapse of concentration or lock up a tire, and you pretty much shoot off there if you go in there too hot. There's not much you can really do to get the car back underneath you and turned in if you make a mistake.
Your number 2 car, the Simatoki Sport car, championship rival to Fusion Racing, they're moving up in the field. They're up to 9th place now, and in fact, as the 196 Caravan issues down at Ravazza once again. But number 2 car now on the back of the German SimRacing.de car, the 72, as also in your GTC field, you've got battling going on between Berlin Sim Sport and Peregrine Yellow. That's a battle over 5th and 6th place in class. They've just spread out a little bit now in that one. That prototype battle, that number 2 car, they've just got to go absolutely hell for leather now, haven't they, Randy? After going onto pit road early, and then also after that mistake at the second chicane, trying to just avoid an incident, it's put them right down, 9th place at the moment. They've just got to go at it and just hope that Fusion Racing have some sort of incident to give them a chance to the championship.
Yeah, they really do need something to happen, don't they? And there's a few ways that could happen. Of course, we've had so many cautions this race that some could come from that as well, and they might be able to get the field restacked up. They've done a good job, though, slicing the way through this field to get where they currently are, fighting with this German SimRacing.de number 72 machine right on the rear, right on the gearbox of that car right now as they work through the hairpin. So they're not entirely out of it just yet, considering how far down the order they were. To only be 30 seconds off the back at the moment is going to be pretty good and pretty happy for them, because they're still separated by a lot of GT traffic, and every caution that we've gotten has helped them because they're able to jump up some spots and keep that gap tight. As Carl Hansen, he comes through still dealing with traffic, and I believe on this lap we're going to go past the hour point So we're over the hour, and I suspect we'll see prototypes on pit road pretty much any time.
Yeah, they had a number of laps, just 2 caution periods so far actually, but the second one was a lot longer while we sorted out getting lap traffic ahead of others. And well, headed down to Rivazza once again is that battle for 9th place overall, as some few GT cars have come onto pit road as well. The 66 Black and a Motorsport car onto pit road now. And Dexter Castro getting lapped by these 2 prototypes, battle all away. Also further up as well, you've got a battle for 3rd place overall between Simatoki Sport number 1 and the 27 of Berlin Sim Sport. So the 2 Simatok cars involved in battles here, pretty close together, but this is the number 9 car that's on the back of that German SimRacing.de car of Oliver Kamset. Through the second chicane now, in towards Tosa. He's not going to make a move here. It's so tricky to make a move because he's not really got the length of straight after that second chicane to be able to make that move. Whereas that used to be a classic overtaking spot in motorsport into Tosa when they didn't have the chicanes there, Andy.
Yeah, before they put in those 2 chicanes, then a little bit saddening that they put in the second one. I understand the context of the Tamburello chicane, but the second chicane at Imola, always a little bit curious to me why they shoved that one in there. But you're right, it really did take away one of the best braking opportunities on the track. You still have turn number 1, the Tamburello chicanes, can still make moves there, of course, but outside of that, there really aren't too many good passing opportunities. Like you said, if you don't get enough of a run to carry enough speed and maybe lunge down on the brakes going up into the hairpin, and everywhere else pretty much single file, maybe down the hill in Rivazza you can make something happen. That's about it. I think, did we just see a Porsche get bullied off the track?
No, that was
a mistake.
Yeah, it was a mistake there from the 196, the Berlin Simsport car. Not having the best of days is that 196 car, to be honest. Getting involved in all sorts. There's a battle for P3. Look at this. They're getting caught up with GTC traffic, and you've got also Fusion Racing involved in this battle here as well. Going to the left, going to the right of traffic, and here comes the 22 car now, side by side with number 1. And he's trying to squeeze his way through, trying to force his way through, but there's no way through on that GTC traffic. How they all managed to survive that one, I don't know, because they were all going left and right there, trying to work their way through. So Fusion Racing getting involved in this battle for 3rd place, but Berlin Sim Sport, the 27 car, able to just pull away now in that battle for 3rd place. And Fusion Racing now all over the back of that Simatok number 1 car. It was a change of position, by the way, for 3rd place. So Berlin Sim Sport making that move stick, using that traffic to their advantage, and that's something that you can do here, and we saw Dexter Castro do it in one of the lower in the GT category as well. If you have traffic coming through, Randy, and you can just see that gap and seize on that opportunity, it can work out beautifully for you.
It's very well done by Fusion as well. As actually they're going to come down pit lane for their first round of scheduled pit stops. Moab, Bam, Simatok, no one else coming down yet, so it seems like Fusion under yellow not able to save the fuel the way everyone else was. So Neil Andrews pushing really, really hard there, then immediately coming down on towards pit road. This is not going to be a good feeling for him, seeing not only 1 or 2 cars, but basically the entirety of the prototype field able to at least go an extra lap, potentially more.
Absolutely. 34 laps on the stint for your leaders. Fusion Racing are actually going to change drivers, and James Crawshaw getting behind the wheel of that prototype car now. The battle for that 3rd place is still ongoing, by the way, but Simatok eSport number 1 car just making a little mistake there out of the exit of Tosa, and just getting a little bit loose there on the power. I will say that second chicane, don't forget, that's where Roland Ratzenberger went and hit the wall at incredible speed and ended up losing his life in that one. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they added that second chicane at that point there, Andy, on this track.
Maybe it's I don't know.
It's not got the biggest amount of runoff, has it? Really?
No, it doesn't. But then again, after I would sort of assume that we need to stop talking about this.
Yep.
Fight is on. The race lead, Carl Hansen, Alex Ellis. Ellis pulled to the right, not able to do it around the outside through this Tamburello chicane. They will now come and off now on the run towards chicane number 2. Does Hansen have enough space? I think he does. I don't think Ellis is going to pull up in the draft, but I think they slow the cars up enough through the first chicane that I don't really think the second chicane is. I don't know. Maybe it is necessary. Maybe I'm just a bonehead. They're super close in that TNT GT car, and thank you coming through, says Carl Hansen.
I'll tell you what, when you're race leading, you don't want to be pushing it that hard as your race leading GT car comes onto pit lane as well. IVRA Melon onto the pit road. They've made a 20.2 second stop, and that's the advantage of having the tyres being changed at the same time as fuel here, Andy. Able to get quicker pit stops done in your GT field. And, well, your lead battle still ongoing here into Variante Alta, but Black Adder Motorsports, they'll be compromised into that chicane because of lapping the compatriots in the Black Adder Motorsports car. So Black Adder Motorsports not really helping each other out in that one once again. Heading down to Ravazza now. We'll keep an eye on the leaders. Will they be heading on to pit road? Look at how Motef are just drifting that car on the exit of corners. They're really pushing this car to its limit. Both the leaders staying out for another lap. So it's going to be lap 36 of the stint for them then. So those early cautions really helping them out, really helping them save that fuel in towards the first chicane. They go Tamburello. Left, right, and left again. Motef not holding that middle apex as well. And Black Adder Motorsport able to get the run at that chicane now as Berlin Sim Sport 27 comes onto pit road now. So your prototypes are cycling through their pit stop phase. We are just 2 hours and 52 minutes remaining in this one. An hour and 7 minutes gone in this one so far. But Motef, Randy, you see just how much they're kicking the back end out on power. They're really pushing this and really trying to hold on to that lead.
Yeah, they are, and that Black Adder car is doing a good job trying to just keep up this pressure here at the end of the stint and maybe force Carl into some sort of mistake. It'll be interesting to see here about midway through this lap if they come down pit lane, because every single lap we go, the more and more I start scratching my head about this Fusion car, because that's a little bit early to come down pit road, I think. If they go again, that Fusion car really got the strategy wrong and really didn't save the fuel they potentially could have under those yellows. But they come now up towards Ravazza, down the hill, going to be hard on the brakes and through this double left. Will we see both of these drivers peel off down pit road, or will it be like the old Imola race here that we had in the late 80s where everyone runs out of gas?
Oh, here we go. Black Adder Motorsports onto pit road then for their first pit stop. And interestingly, Motef Racing Podcast have been in the lead for the majority of this race, able to stay out one lap longer. So obviously being able to do a little bit of fuel saving along the way and just able to work the marks and work the fuel a little bit better than that Black Adder Motorsport car there, Andy. Maybe running a little bit less downforce.
Could be. There's a few potential things. It's one of those things where I know a lot of people who race in these sorts of races, they're actually not very good under caution on these road drivers, because it's such a rare thing to have in most series. Neo, you only get on average about a caution per year. Anyone who's done the World Tour events or running the Pro Series, cautions actually never happen in those championships. So for a lot of these guys, the first time they've encountered yellows at all, maybe in this championship, it's actually one of those things that I've really, really hyped up. That's something we need to get, because you have the likes of, let's say, the IndyCar community, where those guys, they have it so fine-tuned of how you need to run the car under yellow to optimally save fuel. Something we would love to see here in the endurance side of things, and I don't think it's out of the question that people still getting it slightly wrong under this current rule set. It'll be interesting to see if your race leader comes down pit lane right here, right now.
Well, I can tell you that the pit stop time for Alex Ellis in the Black Adder Motorsport 168 car was a 31.2 second pit stop. I remember in endurance races like this, you want to go longer. And here comes your race leader then. Down into pit road, on the brakes, back in just kicking out as he's getting down to that pit lane speed limit. 60 kilometers an hour, that's 37 miles an hour for those of you using Imperial. And heading down pit road, looking for his pit solo. He's going to be right at the end of pit lane because, of course, he was the pole sitter here. And he stops on his marks now. And the question is, where's Simmer top number 2? It's up at Variante Alta. You're looking at a pit stop lost time of around, let's have a look here, around, what about a minute here in this one. Fuel going in, sitting there patiently waiting for the fuel to stop. As out of Rivazza comes the number 2 car, coming on to the start finish straight. Look for Blackadder Motorsports, they're coming out of Rivazza now. It's going to be a longer pit stop as well for Motorsport because they are changing driver. David Leaf Patterson now down the wheel, and here comes Blackadder Motorsport. Alex Ellis is going to take you'd think the lead, but it's not because FRH Racing are in the lead of this one at the moment. But they're on lap 25 of their stint, so they stopped under one of the cautions earlier on.
The second one.
Yeah, so yeah, Blackadder Motorsports then second place overall at the moment. We'll wait for the strategy to play out here, but Motef changing driver there, and Samba Racing almost getting involved with Motef out the first chicane.
On that pit cycle into Aqua Minerale is that Berwick Vita car. Moat, they're not even in Piratella yet, so some mistake coming from those two. We also have to keep an eye on this number 148 machine because they're very, very relevant in this. They're not going to come down pit lane for at least another 10 laps. That's going to put us at around an hour and a half currently run. They might just off-cycle themselves enough to be able to make something happen with this. They are potentially in this for the win if we stay under this sort of situation.
Do you think that the Motef car, they did a service because they changed driver, took tyres as well as fuel?
It's possible, but I think they would have lost more time if that were the case.
It's 47.3 seconds was the pit stop, and you're looking at about 30 seconds for fuel only.
That's probably what it is then. That's the only thing I can assume. So, I don't know, that's going to be tough. And actually, it's sort of one of those things, the number of caution laps that were run in that first stint, I think you likely would have been able to double stint those tires. Then again, the Blackadder car towards the end of that first stint looked much, much better than the Moat car did. Moat car looked very fast early on and then really fell off hard towards the end. The Blackadder car seemed to only get quicker of the ran and went as BAM fighting hard now with F4H. They are on the rear gearbox of Romario Granell.
Yeah, certainly are, and Romeo under pressure here. F4H Racing, they're a little bit out of sequence on the rest of them, but do you know what? It's working for them so far here in this one. But the 3/10 ahead, and you look compared the last lap times there, a 1:36.8 for F4H, a 1:35.8 for BAM Workiva. So Blackadder Motorsports, Alex Ellis has got the pace there, gets a wheel on the grass into Variante Alta, all kinds of loose over the curb there as well. Big mistakes there, but he hasn't really lost much time, maybe a tenth and a half there, Randy.
Yeah, he sort of did a good job, didn't he? It's one of those things I think where Alex Ellis is just flat out quicker. The quickest lap Romeo has done is within the 1:35. Second lap of the race is 35.5. That Blackadder car has made semi-regular trips down into the 1:34. So Alex Ellis, he is going to be much, much quicker than this F4H Racing machine, and he just needs to find and time the right move when he gets the opportunity, and the turn one, the best opportunity on track to make a pass. We talked about that earlier, not doing just yet, and they make it, they run in toward the second chicane.
It's such a good run out of the second one through the through that second chicane, running wide is your leader F4H into Tosa once again, and it's going to be the run out of Tosa. It's going to be crucial here as they head towards Piratella. You can make a move into Piratella if you're brave. Well, not going to be close enough to make that move for the time being, so it's just going to hold back. You can make moves into Variante Alta. We've seen that a couple of times in this race so far. Down through Aqua Minerale. That's where we saw Motev make that mistake earlier on. Look at how twitchy that FH car is on the exit of Acqua Minerale. They're holding the inside line, not holding it enough. Alex Ellis trying to force his way through. He's going to get the better run out of Variante Alta, getting all kinds of crossed up out the exit here. Look at this battle for the lead of the race. You wouldn't think this is an endurance race with the way these two are battling away. Down towards Rivata, late onto the brakes. Hold your apex there. The FH car runs wide. Black Adder Motorsports down the inside of the second part. Thank you very much. Look at that, trying to get the cutback is the FH car, using the slipstream now as they head over the start and finish line once again. Great driving from both of these drivers. And Romeo, well, Grinnell, he's having a look to the outside, but Black Adder Motorsports, I know they can hold that inside line and force them wide into the first corner, and that's the lead changed hands there, Randy. Good driving from both of them there.
Yeah, good hard fight that was, and that Black Adder car needs to do his damnedest now to try to stretch this gap out, because Alex Ellis, he is somewhat handicapped here with the fuel load, because Romeo is about 20 or so laps into this run. That car is going to be pretty much at the lightest it would be all race long. That Black Adder car just came down pit road a short time ago. It is going to be heavy, so it's going to take a little bit for Alex to be able to get this gap spread out. So Romeo, if he has an opportunity, maybe he should take the fight to that Black Adder car, but that opportunity seems to be growing less and less likely as they work themselves down to the midpoint of the lap.
And you look back at the battle for third place as well, Motev Racing Podcast. That team in third place, they've got the Roadbusters Green. Now the Roadbusters Green are out of sync as well. 26 laps they're into their stint here. Of course, getting that damage from the wall ride that they got on the pit wall there earlier on in the race. Oh, just getting a little bit loose on the exit Acqua Minerale there. That's going to lose them a few tenths of seconds there as they go up towards Variante Alta. They've got the lighter car at the moment, but at the moment they're out of sequence, as we say. So out of your top 5, 3 cars are out of sequence here. The FRH Racing car, which is in second place, the Roadbusters Green, and also Team ISDC Rig Share in 5th place. They're all in the 26 to 29 laps. In fact, FRH Racing now on the 29th lap of the stint. So it won't be too far down the line before they head onto pit road, because if they pitted under the last caution, they've been pushing hard now for the rest of the stint here, Andy.
Yeah, everyone's pretty much going to be pushing here towards the end of the stint. All these cars, especially on light fuel, they're in a sort of situation where even though they're playing the fuel game, they're playing it backwards. They're saying, you know what, we need to be fast right here, right now. Even though they're going to be looking to go a little bit further every single point, they need to make up this time disadvantage they have right now, and they need to get themselves into a window where they can have a super short final stop and then jump, hopefully, the cars in front of them once they come down the last round of stops. It's important to note, interestingly enough, the same situations are playing through in the other classes. You look down your GT field. Remember we were talking about the likes of 49 Motorsports having come down pit road. They've now cycled themselves into 4th. What do you see?
Lead battle is heating up once again. The mistakes from Black Adder Motorsport through the exit of Acqua Minerale. They just couldn't quite get close enough, could FRH Racing. Couldn't quite get onto alongside the Black Adder Motorsports car for your race lead battle as they head through Rivata once again. And Romeo Grinnell looking to get the good run out that corner, heading over the start finish line. It's a good opportunity to actually go on board for taking Racespot fan immersion with the 148 FH Racing car. minutes remaining in the 4 hours of Imola here in the DGFX Endurance Series Season 5 finale. And well, you've just been taking a bit of a ride with your second place in prototypes FH Racing, Romeo Grinnell, and he's been caught out by traffic in this one, but we've got to look back at the Roadbusters Green. They're pretty close to your third place car of Motef Racing Podcast, heading down towards turn number 1, looking at the inside line, not making the move so far. And well, certainly been interesting to see how they go. We have got a few different strategies in play at the moment, and it's really that last hour where we'll see how that pans out for these cars. Don't forget, you are watching this live on iRacing Live with RacespotTV. Paul Smith here, alongside me is Randy Cheneth, and also Hugo Lewis behind the cameras for you today. And Randy, we're coming up to the half-hour mark of this hour. Everything's sort of just calmed down a little bit. Everybody's finally got, after those 2 cautions, they've got in the swing of things. We've had pit stops, and now everyone can just work the numbers and try and get a good run in this race.
Yeah, we finally got ourselves a nice little bit of a run going here. So hopefully we can keep it that way and get ourselves another bit of a stint. We haven't had quite a full stint running just yet, because the cars that did come down pit lane during that last caution have not yet had to come down pit road. So getting close to that point though, and it's like you said, things have cleaned up just a little bit here. We still have some, are seeing some good aggressive fighting, but people are now doing it without getting into one another and sending people off into the wall and such.
Yeah, absolutely. Just at the moment, we'll quickly just run through the standards as they are in each class here. And in your prototypes, it is Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva, Alex Ellis in the lead by 5 seconds now ahead of FH Racing, Romeo Grinnell in second place. Motef Racing Podcast, your early race leaders, in third place after a change of driver and a full fuel stop. Roadbusters Green fourth, again another one that's out of sync here with some of the other prototypes, with Team ISDC Richard fifth, Bill and Simsport sixth, with Simatok Esport number 1 in seventh, and Fusion Racing in 8th place. Then in your GT field, it is Top Freak Racing Corkscrew. Adam Shipstone is in the lead of this one. Now he's one of the drivers who went into the pits in that second caution period. He's leading by 9 seconds ahead of Bad Cactus Racing Blue, who are in second. Again, enough one that took a pit stop in that second caution period. And SimRC.de Melon, they were the leaders for the majority of the time in this one. They're on lap 12 of their stint. Third place, Delta 49 Motorsports, the number 49 car. They're in 4th place in class. Again, another one that's out of sync here, taking that pit stop in the last caution. Fusion Black, 5th place, with Blackadder Motorsports in 6th. Those two have not been able to get separated between the two of those throughout this race. They are the championship rivals here in this one. 7th place is SimRC.de Strawberry, Evan Merrill. And 8th place, Team Vikings Midgard have just come onto pit road, so it's going to be TNT Racing Gold who take that 8th place then. At the moment, Team Vikings going to change driver there in the 172. And I think it's Cam Walsh's favourite driver there jumping in, Randy.
Maybe. Cam Walsh has a lot of favorite drivers. Usually the criteria is if they're driving a Ford though, so
yeah.
He's not in one. It's Cam's going take-backs. He's on the blue oval. Yeah,
absolutely. As we'll keep an eye on a couple of battles going on in this one. In your GTC field, you've got Peregrine Yellow are in first place, 28 laps into their stint. So again, another team that took their pit stop in the last caution period. In fact, the leader of the GT field has come into pit road now for their second stop of the race. SimRC.de Lemon in second place in GTC, with Berlin Simsport in third. Your early race leaders in your GTC field down in third place after a little contact with the prototype car. Top Freak Racing Radio, David Barraclough is in fourth, with Probatum Racing Academy fifth. Sixth place is War Dogs with Berlin Simsport 194 in seventh, and Aggie Motorsports Blue in 8th place. Out goes the Top Freak Racing Corkscrew car, 31.4 seconds on pit road. And interesting to see where they'll come out of pit out of the pits. As Black Bad Cactus Blue have also come onto pit road, and you should be seeing FRH Racing. They should be coming into pit road the next lap or so, Randy, because they're on lap 35 of their stint in your prototypes as well. So they're about right to come on, but your battle in GTC is the closest one between Top Fuel Racing Radio and Probatum Racing Academy. David Barraclough in 4th place, Probatum Racing Academy with Julio Ornelas in 5th place.
Yeah, they've been reeling in David Barraclough, haven't they, in that Torque Freak Racing Porsche, so they're going to come down now in towards Ravazza, and the 81 car, David Barraclough, all sorts of sideways through Ravazza. The car doesn't ever really look settled. Probatum car looks a little bit better. Get a warning coming through for the number 117 car from Race Control. That's the Moat Racing podcast machine. So what has David Lee Patterson done? Catch the ire. Actually, no, this happened on lap 25. So what did they do a number of laps ago to catch the ire somewhat of the race stewards?
Well, they've been aggressive, unsafe driving is the official response. It was involving the Probatum car, actually, back on lap 25. So, yeah, a little bit of a warning for them coming there. And, yeah, certainly interested to see how they're going as that Probatum battle still is about half a second between the two of them. They've got one prototype car up behind them to put a lap on them. That's one of the Simatop cars, the number 2 car of the Simatop team. And well, this is the thing with this Porsche. It's the 911 GT3 Cup car. It's not a full GT3 car, so you've not got the driver aids of like ABS or traction control. And it's a tricky car because it's not got as much downforce as well as a GT3 car would as well, Randy.
Yeah, the only real aero the car generates will be up and over the body, and of course the wing as well doesn't generate much at all. It's important to note it really doesn't share much in common with the GT3 spec car as well. The GT3 moniker within Porsche with a naming convention before the racing category came out, so it's not like it's a scaled down GT3 car in a sense. It's just a completely different set of rules and regulations from the ground up. But that GT3, the GT3 Cup car, it is mighty hard to drive. The tires don't have quite the sort of the cars just overall aren't as forgiving as the higher end GT cars such as the Ferrari and even the GT3 machines that you see out there, because they are just so much more difficult to drive with the lights, no traction control, no ABS, pretty much up and down.
And we have got a penalty for the 166 coming through. That's Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva. Ashley Howell behind the wheel, and it's for avoidable contact on the.
Is that all of them?
Blue.
Is that all of them that's gotten warned or penalized now?
Pretty much, I would say. So certainly interesting to see how that one goes, but yeah, a 60-second stop and hold there for the Blackadder Motorsport 166 car, as Probatum having to just drop back a little bit, letting faster traffic through here. And this is where you've got to learn this skill of using the traffic to your advantage to try and work with the faster traffic coming through. Because say like you're going down a long straight, you don't want to be absolutely keeping it flat all the way down the straight to then brake early into the corner when you've got a faster car coming through. Sometimes, Randy, it's better to just, if you're the slower car, just to back off the throttle a little bit halfway down the straight, let that car go past you, and then you can still keep on your sort of breaker markers into the next corner as we look at the 182 and the 7, the Top Fuel Racing Corkscrew and TNT Racing Gold cars.
Keep an eye on that battle. Also important to note that most of the people that hit under the caution and cycled themselves to the front of the field, they've pretty much come down pit lane and cycled themselves back towards the back of the field. But on that topic, I mean, you're pretty much right. Sometimes there's, it pretty much depends on timing. Sometimes there's nothing you can do to really pick up time. You're just flat out going to lose time, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Other times you can have a little bit more of a say in how you approach the corners, and like you said, a big difference in how you actually make up the time in traffic It's all on how you use that throttle and brake pedal, knowing when to lift off and let a car get through and past you a little bit early so you can get to that turning point. But sometimes you need to be aggressive with the traffic as well, and you need to be very, very aggressive when saying that you're not going to let a prototype through. Sometimes it's best just to shift over, defend that inside groove, and basically signify to them, no, you're not passing me through this corner. It all depends on a lot of things. James Owens, this Torque Freak Racing corkscrew machine, gets that corner at Ravazza just wrong, and Troy Scholes in the TNT Gold car going to have an opportunity, I think, as they go running down in towards corner number 1.
Yeah, they certainly will get the opportunity. You got it wrong going into Ravazza. We got it wrong coming out of Ravazza as well, did James Ewens, as they're heading down the straight now. It's not much of a straight, it's more curved than straight as they're heading in towards turn number 1. Down the inside goes TNT Racing Gold. Great late move there, actually. It didn't look like they were going to make that move, but they just threw it up the inside. Thank you very much. That's a position gain to TNT Racing Gold up to 5th place in your GT field, as here comes some prototypes now trying to make make their way through. Team Vikings making their way through here on the GTC and now your GT field. And yeah, great move there, I've got to say. Troy Schultz, late breaker, last of the late breakers, and he did a good job of that. He stopped it on the apex as well.
Yeah, it was just a good late move there with that Team Vikings car, as we just saw. Good to see them back out on track. Julian Erblau in the Scimitar car also involved in this little scrap, as is James Crawshaw in the Fusion Racing machine. So prototype cycled themselves through, and that's pretty much separated that little battle out quite a bit, hasn't it? Troy, since getting that job done, now has a nice little buffer over that Torque Freak Racing car of James Ewens.
Certainly does. And well, everybody's sort of keeping it separated. I mean, you've got a battle here with prototypes with the NAB and ER competition, but that's for 16th and 17th place in that category at the moment. Looking through your field, everybody's just spread out a little bit now. Peregrine Yellow's come onto pit road with Tom Stanley. They're finally making their pit stop here in your GTC field, so getting those pit stops done. And this is all going to be now towards the end of the race. This is where you look with the strategies, because taking that pit stop in that caution, it certainly has helped some teams, and it maybe saved themselves a lot of times, because if you take a pit stop under caution, everyone else is running slower. You don't lose as much time as, say, you do a green flag stop.
The problem with the cautions we've had is they've sort of just they came so early in the race that it really didn't shake things up very much. What we sort of need, the big shakeup you'll get is if we get a caution in the middle of a green flag run. We've been in green for quite a while now, and a yellow now would really, really shake things up and really allow some gaps to, come right back down. Those first couple cautions happened in basically the first 30 some odd laps, first 20 laps of the race, really. So it's I don't want to say they were boringly timed cautions, but not quite the curveball or the corkscrew that it might have been had, say, one flies right now, especially with teams and cars on varying strategies. Because some pit under those cautions, some have not.
Well, and I would also say that really it's those teams that don't really have anything to lose that made those pit stops, because they were further down the order in their respective categories. So if you're further down the order and maybe have not got the overall race pace of the cars in front of you, you just roll the dice, make that early pit stop under the caution. It might work out, but it might not towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it's just sort of it's a catch-22. It's the one problem though with the early pit stop is that the field isn't completely cycled through. So if you come down pit lane, you're not only going to be behind the entirety of your class, but you're going to be behind anyone else who pits, and potentially the slower class as well. I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen 49 Motorsports, who at one point was up amongst the top 25, really. Up amongst the top 5, toward the tail end of the top 5, really. They've not really rebounded very well since that pit stop. I think having to drive through the majority of that Porsche category, I understand the call to come down pit road, but they actually came down pit road under both situations, and those cautions were only separated by about 10 laps. So some people, they like to be passive with it and say, oh, we're going to take whatever chance we can get to come down pit lane. But at the same time, you also have to know when it's a 4-hour race and when that track position even though it's a quote-unquote endurance race, a lot of people get in this mindset of, oh, it's an endurance race, so I just need to be calm, cool, collected, and not go too fast. Like, no, this is a 4-hour race, and not a lot can really happen to pick you up a lot of stuff. You need to know when it's time to just put your pedal down and push as hard as you can to pick up spots, and sometimes choosing to stay out is the way you do that.
And well, looking at this, the closest battle on track at the moment is between the Motorf Racing Podcast and Berlin Simsport. That's first and second overall in your race here, and about half a second between them now, and Berlin Simsport have been consistently a little bit quicker than David Lee Patterson. I think David is not the, and I don't want to be unkind to him because he's currently second in the race here. You've got to be quick to be in second place.
Well, listen, Paul, it's your opinion and therefore fact that David is slow.
I'm not saying he's slow. I'm saying that he's maybe not the stronger of the two drivers.
Well, looking at the lap times, he's pretty slow because he is 3 seconds off his teammates and those around him. So it may not be the nicest thing to say, but he is well and truly off the pace from where Carl was.
Yeah, certainly as well, through that traffic they go. And look at this now, Berlin Simsport, Tobias Schultz darting out, trying to get in the wing mirrors of that MO8EF car. My opinion, therefore, fat car. Down towards Ravazza once again. This is the end of lap 54 for these drivers. Very much in the swing of things. SimRC.de Melon, by the way, onto pit road, your GTC leader. So they're making a pit stop now. That's early for me, I think, for them making
no, this is on cycle. Did they come down under one of the cautions?
No,
they didn't.
Lucas Doltz is coming in. The change of driver for there. Battle for second still ongoing between the two of them. Through the first chicane they go. Not able to make the move, Berlin Simsport. And this is it now. You look at the lap time in the last lap. Berlin Simsport are down to the pace of that Motef car. I can hear a little bit of contact ahead of them as well, but nothing happening between any of those cars ahead. But look at that. That 196 Berlin Simsport car, very crucial teammates there in the two categories. Trying to just slow down that Motef car on the apex of Tosa. Didn't quite work out for them, but look at these three cars ahead now that they're catching up to. The second and third place cars. Got to get through this traffic, through this GT traffic now. Racca Minerale once again up the hill towards Variante Alta. The highest part of this track. Onto the brakes. Oh, that Motef car trying to go side by side with the GT car. Not the most graceful thing ever, but it's worked for them because they pulled out, and we're going to caution, Randy. And I believe Top Freak Racing, they've had an incident, and it's Sasha Lamp. Oh, he's had a big incident downwind towards the first chicane, and there was contact between them and the GT car. They've been up and over, and they land on the wheels, got back up and running. But I tell you what, that car's pretty much toast now.
Yeah, I'm just getting a look at this, and they were 3 wide, and he just sort of came across that GT car, I think, just a little bit. You're right, it was a really, really hard hit, trying to go 3 wide with a GT car and a GTC car left and right of him, and up and over he went. Sasha Lamp, not going to be a good way to end that one, because that's pretty much going to be a race done. Well,
Randy, you got your caution that you wanted now. Now you see whether people will take a pit stop here who are up at the front of the fields. Blackadder Motorsports, 19 laps into the stint. Motorf Racing Podcast, 18 laps into the stint. And look at that FH Racing. They're on the 6 laps into their stint here. You would think that they're going to stay out. Others may be tempted to take a pit stop, maybe take that shorter pit stop that they may need to take as part of their strategy in this race, Randy.
Problem for F4H though is they're a lap down. So even I think they have to stay out here. You're 1 lap off. You have to stay out and take that wave around, and you're only going to be 6 laps or so off cycle. That's not really going to be a huge amount. Just accept that and stay on that lead lap anyhow you can. Be interesting to see what Moaf do, whether or not they put Carl back in the car or if David's going to stay in because Carl just ran, about half a century, so 37 laps is what Carl did. David been in 17 here, so it's not been a good long run for him, but with the pace differential, they seem to have a very, very good opportunity to win a race here today. They might just need to take it by stuffing Carl in the car right here.
No surprise, Top Pit Racing Sunset, they're onto pit road. But they were able to drive it back, so Sasha Lamp able to take it back. It's got no engine cover on the car, and it's a bit bent as that car. I think that possibly is going to be the last we see of that car, which would be a shame for Torque Freak Racing.
Yeah, the sun is set on Torque Freak Racing Sunset, I think, for sure.
Let's have a look then as the standings are. That was
disappointment.
That was terrible. I mean, I will congratulate you on working that in there. That was good work there, Andy, but yeah. Let's have a look then as the standings as they are at the moment. It is Blackadder Motorsports, Alex Ellis in the lead of this one, ahead of the, my opinion, therefore, Fact Racing podcast car is second, pole sitter in this race and early race leader in this one. Berlin Simsport are in third place with Simotok Esports number 1 car in fourth. Future Racing fifth with Unicorn Endurance in sixth. Simotok Esport number 2 car now up to 7th place in this race after dropping right down to the back of your prototype field. And in 8th place it's GT Temple Racing and your prototypes in your GT field. It is Fusion Black who are now leading that one ahead of Blackadder Motorsport Wakiva. I tell you what, Lucas Dolzer will be they'll be kicking themselves in that melon car for making the pit stop about 2 laps before this caution period, because they've dropped well down the order. SimLC.de Strawberry, by the way, in third, with TNT Racing Gold in fourth. Top Grip Racing Corkscrew, James Ewens in fifth place, with German Sim Racing.de in sixth. 7th place for Graphite Racing GTE, Julian Bell behind the wheel there, and Bad Cactus Racing Blue in 8th place. As I say, SimLC.de Melon, they made the pit stop 2 laps ago, so basically a lap before that caution. They're down in 10th place now, making a green flag pit stop before that caution period. In your GTC field, it is SimLC.de Lemon in first place, 2nd place for Berlin Simsport in the 87 car, 3rd for Probatan Racing with War Dogs in 4th, 5th for Berlin Simsport 194 with Peregrine Yellow in 6th, 7th for Aggie Motorsports Blue, and 8th for SimRC.de Kiwi. And Randy, I think we've both been in the position you absolutely kick yourself. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but you absolutely kick yourself that you've made a green flag pit stop and then the next lap there's a caution.
Yeah, it's not great for them, is it? A little bit, pretty unfortunate timing. They're going to have to find somehow, some way to drive themselves through all this traffic, but they have to try to make it work somehow. I kind of sort of agree. Their timing for coming down pit lane was a little bit off. I don't know if maybe they hit a fuel number and said, you know what, we can make it to the end from here, so let's get a driver swap, get some other people in the car. It is relatively odd timing here. I'm a little surprised, I think, not see the 168 machine come down pit road, because they did come down a handful of laps earlier than most of the rest of the prototypes. So your current race leader, I actually was suspecting they might come down pit lane, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. They're only about 10 or so laps out, I think, from their next pit stop. So, I don't know, interesting call by them to decide to stay out instead of taking that under this caution.
Yeah, certainly going to be interested to see. Well, we're going to get all your back markers just getting a wave around now, getting past the overall race leader underneath the caution here. So what we'll do is we'll just mention that the DGFX Racing Endurance Series Season 5 of this championship is brought to you with DIYSim.com, a SimCraft company. DIYSim.com is your go-to source for all of your sim racing pedals, motion system, motion chassis kits needs. The next evolution of making amazing and attainable, establishing the sole marketplace for the result of these two pursuits. It combines enthusiasts and DIY types with the most versatile and technically accurate motion simulation technology ever created. That's DIYSim.com, a SimCraft company. And DGFX Endurance Series is also brought to you by My Opinion Therefore Fact Racing Podcast. A couple of race fans presenting opinion as fact. F1 and NASCAR with a bit of iRacing added for good measure. Make sure you check out motef.com, that's MOATF.com, and check out their podcast. They do a really good job on that one, that's for sure. And Randy, you know, the sponsor of the series must be happy with how their team's going. Second place overall in this race under this caution.
Well, it's obviously a fix then, isn't it? There's always got to be a conspiracy.
So, somebody with the tinfoil hat on somewhere will be there saying that it is a fix. No, they're doing a great job. And David Lee Patterson, not the quicker of the two drivers, but yeah, he's kept that car in second place. Bill and SimSpot weren't able to make their way past them, so he does a good job of defensive driving there.
You know, Paul, it's sort of weird. As a certified slow driver yourself, you're so scared of calling people slow.
Oh no, I flat out say I'm slow. As Blackadder Motorsport 168 comes down to pit road.
Pit lane.
Yeah, so pit lane is open now. If you want to take that pit stop and
that stays out.
Yeah, so this is the roll of the dice for a few teams. And it's not so much whether you're coming down to pit road that's the roll of the dice. The roll of the dice could be staying out and having to do a green flag pit stop in about 20 laps time.
I think the main thing for them is that if you're Moaf, you need to try to get David to a point where he's hit the minimum driving limit and that you can pretty much just throw a Carl back in the car. So basically the idea right here, right now is you're going to see that Blackadder car come down pit lane. You know that they're going to go to the tail end of the field. They're doing a full stop. We are getting a driver swap, actually. Yep. Driver swap and tires. So it's going to be a full stop for them. So they will likely be one of, if not the last running cars out there on the racetrack, as number of cars who are getting the wave around now cycle the way through. So they're going to have a lot of traffic, and Moaf is going to have some clean air to work with.
Yeah.
See.
Look at that in the pit stops though, because they changed driver. Simitok Esport number 1 has jumped them in the pit stop there.
So that's going to be interesting, and this is going to play into the hands of that 117 machine, Paul, because really David's going to be able to go out and hopefully he can get these, because there are a number of cars between him and the pace car. Hopefully he can go out and really extend that race lead quickly, as most of those drivers now getting the wave around. So maybe I'm blowing smoke a little bit. The Moaf car actually, should be the first car behind the pace car, I do believe.
Yeah, it should be, yeah. Yeah, it's still getting salted at the moment. We're having to wait for all this to pan out, but that is crucial for Simitok. Well, it's been crucial for Motef Racing to get the Blackadder Motorsports behind the number 1 car. Now, the number 1 car isn't slow. That Simitok car. Both Simitok cars came into the pits on that lap, by the way, as well as the GT Temple Racing. Fabian Youngblood is in the wheel of that one at the moment. So few cars coming into pit road. A lot of your GT field have come onto pit road as well. So you've had Fusion Black, SimRC DE Strawberry, TNT Racing Gold, German SimRacing.de, Delta 49 Motorsports with only 11.6 stop. So they've once again gone in the pits in the caution period. Blackadder Motorsport number 66 made a pit stop as well. So did Team Dykins Midgard. So too did the Roadbusters Blue. Blackadder Motorsport Waukegan number 166 and FH Motorsport 17 all went onto pit road that time. In your GTC field as well, Peregrine Yellow, Tom Stanley. They weren't actually that far gone into a stint actually for them, so they took a quick splash of fuel. They might as well on that one. Bill and SimSport 194 went on pit road as well, and Top Fit Racing Radio are on pit road at the moment as well. So you've seen a number of cars, the majority of your GT field though, making their pit stops there, leaving Top Fit Racing Corkscrew, James Ewans 12 laps into a stint here in the lead of that GT field, with Graphite Racing GT in second, but they're 23 laps into this stint, Randy, as the 196 comes onto pit road. Berlin SimSport on the pit road now for a stop. And interesting to see how that GT field pans out here, because Graphite Racing, 23 laps into their stint, they're looking like they may possibly have to take a green flag pit stop, but they're up in second place at the moment.
Yeah, they're looking good right now, but you know, the question is going to be is how will they do up till that point, and how much ground will they lose under that green flag stop? Also, one thing that's interesting, we mentioned that the Simitalk number 1 machine, Paul, got through. That Blackadder car, they're going to find themselves in a very difficult place, because the next car in line is a prototype that is floor position, and you go down a half dozen or so GT cars, and you get to the Simitalk eSport number 2 machine of David Saranzo. And that Simitalk car has not been slow at all today either. So that car, he might be able to find some way somehow to reel in that Blackadder car and maybe make something of this. So for Syandra, his first stint getting into the car here as we're approaching halfway, hopefully going back to green flag racing here shortly, he's going to have his work cut out for him, trying to get around one Simitalk car, fighting with the GT Temple machine, all the while hoping that Simitalk car a few rows back doesn't get to him either.
Well, it is going to be the 76 car who leads the green flag once again, because he is a class leader in this race. So it's going to be the SimRC.de Lemon car that will lead this field. But Motef Racing Podcast, the third car in the queue here, they'll be wanting to clear those two Porsches very quickly here, because they have got the 27 car of Berlin Simsport, who they were battling with for a number of laps before that caution, right behind them in this queue of cars. So they'll want to try and get the jump here, get those two Porsches between them, even if it's just for the first chicane, just to get themselves a little bit of a gap here in this next phase of the race.
Yeah, and I think the Moab car is going to have absolutely no issues blowing the doors off of these two these two Porsches in front of him. You know, not very great on the acceleration, all the Porsches. They're good at top speed because they don't have a lot of aerodynamic drag, but David Lee Patterson, all he should have to do is put that pedal to the metal, and that car is lighter, has a better power to weight ratio. He should be able to power right on past those Porsches before the braking zone into corner number 1, and even if he has to wait until the braking zone, he should be able to get well and truly clear both of them. And then when that happens, he should be in a very, very good situation. Might drop a couple spots to the likes of Berlin Simsport, Vision, Sim Racing, Unicorn, Endurance. But the teams he really needs to be looking after are those drivers he was fighting with, like the BAM car number 168, and those Simitalks back there in 4th and 5th that are a number of rows further down the order.
Well, here we go then. We're heading to Rivatsa. The lights are out on the pace car, so we're going to be going green flag racing this time by. And it's Patrick Christoph Mosap in the SimRC.de Lemon car who will take us away. He's holding. He's got to wait until a certain point to be able to accelerate. Everyone being patient. 76 car, of course, battling with that 87 car as well for position to Pascal 6. And away we go. Green flag is in the air and we're back up and running. 2 hours and 4 minutes remaining in the 4 hours of Imola. And there goes the Motef car past one of the Porsches. He's not going to catch up to the leading Porsche. He's going to go alongside into the first chicane. That's compromised him here. He's got caught up behind the 76 car, and that's allowed the Berlin Simsport car to be able to catch up with him and keep right there with him. That's a disaster for the Motef car. The 76 has been able to just gap out a little bit on his rival in your GTC, but look at this battle for the overall lead of this race here. Motef Racing Podcast, David Lee Patterson was so good at defensive driving he was earlier on against the Berlin Simsport car, but Tobias Schultz is trying everything to get past here, Randy.
Through Piratella and down the hill they're going to come. Likely no passing opportunity to be had here for David Lee Patterson. Can he pick up the pace that we saw from him now that he has clear track for at least, well, he's going to have clear track for a while.
Oh dear, we've had an incident. Oh, two prototypes, NAB and Team ISDC Rigshare have had an incident on the exit of Tosa. They got together with one of the Blackadder Motorsport GT cars. They've ended up in the wall. They've ended up going, so that's why we've not got a caution. But that lead battle side by side into Rivatsa, and it's going to be Berlin Simsport Tobias Schultz who takes the lead of this race here. just over halfway of this race, and now Tobias Schultz in the lead of this one. That was crucial, Randy.
A good move there by Tobias Schultz down into Ravazza, and now this, my opinion, and therefore fact machine will cycle into second place, and they just need to log laps here quietly, and David needs to just try somehow, some way to not lose a lot of time over Tobias. But look at the pace differential through the first chicane. David is not, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain to Tobias here. They're only got about 10 or 12 more laps or so for the rest of this stint for these guys. So in that sense, they're limiting the amount of time that they might be able to lose ground, but David needs to somehow, some way keep tabs as much as possible.
Well, yeah, that Berlin Sim Sport car on to lap 26 of its stint, 24 laps for that Motef car. Fusion Racing 28 laps, and Unicorn Endurance 26 laps on their stint. Now in your GT field, we have got some close battle in here. You've got Graphite Racing and Bad Cactus Racing Blue, 3rd and 4th place in your GT field. That is pretty close between them, but you've also got SimRC.de Strawberry, that's easy for me to say, also trying to make the way through traffic and keep up with them in this battle here. 4th, 3rd place in your GT field. It's pretty close between them as they're heading down towards Acqua Minerale. Just look at this sea of cars there going down towards Acqua Minerale there, Andy. It's just absolute chaos. It looks chaos there, but everyone managing to keep going and keeping pointing in the right direction here.
Well, you say that, but we just had that incident last time through, so everyone's cycling themselves now at the top of the racetrack through that chicane, and so very tight. Prototypes dealing with GT cars dealing with GTC cars, prototypes dealing with GTC cars. 49 Motorsports, big incident. Rustin Barlamacco, he gets into this as well. The ER competition car, big impact on the rundown into Ravazza. That ER competition prototype still rolling, but Antti Tuominen in that 49 Motorsports machine, that I think might be terminal damage.
Wow, that was an interesting one. We've not got any caution flag come out. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, and that ER competition car, I think Race Control might have a look at that one, because he came way off from the right and got into that, and Fusion Black are onto pit road as well. They're looking like they've got damage to their car possibly, as they're having to make a pit stop. So it was the curse of the commentator. It had to be, didn't it, Randy, that we have an instant when I say that everyone's been keeping it clean.
Yeah, that one's relatively interesting, because I don't know if that's quite as clear cut as he made it sound, because I would make the argument that if I'm in a GT car with a restart like that, I know there's going to be prototypes if they try to go wide of me, because Antti should have known that Ruslan was there. I think I would have given a little bit more room and potentially all the way to the left. It's sort of a Watkins Glen situation. When you have a restart at Watkins Glen going into turn number 1, if you're on the inside, you don't want to track super far out, because cars are going to try to cut back so they don't drive through the grass. It's basically the same exact situation. And instantly enough, the same incident but slightly less happened just behind them, just for Molinab Racing prototype and Gabriel Langhini. Langhini in a Porsche tracked out all the way to the right side of the track just for Molinab Racing car. He tried to just get back on the racing circuit, but there's no way for him to do so. It's one of those situations where, the prototype shouldn't necessarily cut back on the track like that, but if you're a GT car, you need to give them room to do so, because they're going to get past you anyway. They're not who you're fighting with, so just, you can pull over a couple lanes.
George Gruber's had an instant with the 196. It was battle for position. He got into the back of the 196 as a GT lead. Look at this then. SimRC.de Melon, Lucas Daltzer, as we've got a yellow flag thrown out here, and who's this?
Oh, Julian Ongen, the number 72.
That's a big incident on your start and finish straight, and it's your prototype. There's a prototype involved. Oh, it was going past one of your GTC cars, the 115 Probatum, and they were pretty far up in your field as well. Probatum, they were in 3rd place, and that's caught out your Bad Cactus Racing blue car. That's then sent another car flying off. Big drama.
This was a 4-wide incident. You had a Ferrari on the far left of the track. Then you had a prototype, Julian Ongen, trying to get through him. Then you had Probatum, and then you had Gabriel Trisaka all the way on the outside of the track on the far right-hand side. This one's a little bit, I don't know. I think I might put the blame on Julian just a little bit. They should know they're 4 wide there, and he really chopped the nose off that Probatum Porsche. That said, Probatum also came up the track as well. I think if I was one of those guys, I likely would have backed out of that, but I wouldn't, put blame on any one individual for not doing so. I'm not sure. That German sim racing machine just sort of got bumper hooked.
Yeah.
That one's tough. That one's really tough.
Yeah, that's going to be multiple looks at for the stewards of this one. But big incident involving some of the leading cars, like I say, Probatum, who were third place, they're still third place in GTC. And, they're still going. They've got a bit of front-end damage, but I'll tell you what, they're the best ones out of that incident to be still running. Let's have a look then. So how's that affected things? Well, for Motef Racing, that's helped them out because that's brought them right back with Berlin SimSport at the lead of your prototypes. The battle for your GT field has now had to just take a bit of a backward foot at the moment, but it was getting pretty close between Lucas Dolter and James Ewens. Top Fit Racing Cotswold, they were in the lead of that after the caution, the previous caution that we had. And how often do we say it, Randy? Cautions breed cautions, and just like in the first hour of this race, we've had 2 cautions in short succession.
Yeah, apparently it's the odd hours that are going to be caution-filled, hour number 1 and now hour number 3. I also just took this opportunity to have a look back at that first incident. And there's, something interesting that we missed is that Antti Tuominen in that 49 Motorsports car, he was very off pace in the chicane. He was off pace in the chicane because he flat out missed his braking marker and actually ran into the back of Gaber Trischka in the Chaos Brigade car. So that's what stacked up everyone as they went through the chicane, and I think it's explained why that prototype went so wide. Yeah. We actually exited that chicane there. So, I don't know, very, very dramatic situation here in the last couple laps. And talking about, you mentioned the Moab car and that this caution will bring them back in tow with the Tobias Schultz. I don't actually think this helps them because of, just for that reason. It's not being with them that's important. It's this lets David get further down the line in terms of driving limits before Carl can get back in the car, and they won't be losing time here. So that's where this will really help that Moab car, because you're not going to lose or gain any time under caution, and potentially you come down pit road and get Carl back in the car.
And just look, 6 cars down the queue is Blackadder Motorsports, Wakiva, and we've got a number of cars coming out of pit road, including your Motef car, Fusion Racing and Unicorn Endurance all onto pit road. The number 76 from your GTC field is onto pit road. That's your race leading GTC car of SimRC.D11, and Berlin SimSport number 87 are onto pit road as well in GTC. So a number of cars taking the opportunity here to take a pit stop in this one. It shouldn't be as long a caution period because pretty much the queue is all sorted, and one of the class leaders is at the front of the queue, so this should be a relatively short caution here, Randy, and we should be back up underway. But David Lee Patterson taking the opportunity to have a pit stop, but Fusion Racing, they've made the jump there, 15.1 second pit stop for them. Will Unicorn Endurance make a jump on Motef Racing Podcast as well? It was looking so promising for Motef Racing Podcast at the start here, and it looks like they're taking a full service once again, Randy, for Motef Racing Podcast.
David's staying in the car instantly, so this is really odd. I think if I had known David was going to stay in the car, I may have left him out. The question is how many laps of fuel they had left, because David got in the car on lap number 38. They're coming up on lap number 65, so 30 laps of that fuel run, and Carl went 37. So they were nearing the end of their stint anyways. The question has to be asked, are you better leaving David out to run 7 laps and then bringing him down for a full service if you're planning on staying him in? Or is it better doing what you just did now? Doing this might be the lesser of 2 evils. Yeah,
certainly. They'll have been crunching the numbers. The team will have been looking at that one and seeing how it goes. But he's got a lot of cars now between him and that Blackadder Motorsport car that they were battling with earlier on in the first 2 hours of this race. Just wait for everything to settle down here. The lights are on the pace car, so quickly just to run through the order here. It's Berlin Sim Sport 27 in the lead of this race ahead of Simotok number 1. Look at how that Simotok number 1 has been brought into this race now. Black and Motorsport in 3rd place with GT Tempo Racing in 4th. Simotok number 2
at the front of the field too.
Yeah, Simotok
like all stacked up.
it's great that. Simotok number 2 is in 5th place with FRH Racing, 6th place. They were in the lead for a short period with the FRH Racing car. Number 7th place, is the Road Bastards Green, who have been involved in the incident. They're in 7th with Chaos Brigade in 8th. In your GT field, SimRC.de Melon, Lucas Doltz are in the lead ahead of Top Freak Racing Corkscrew. They'll be continuing their battle there with SimRC.de Strawberry in 3rd, TNT Racing Gold in 4th, and Black and Motorsport they're in 5th with the 66 car. 6th place, Tim Vikings Midgard with Graphite Racing in 7th, and 49 Motorsports in 8th place, who we saw getting caught up in an incident at Variant Alta. In the GTC field, it's Probatum Racing Academy in the lead with Peregrine Yellow in 2nd, Berlin Sim Sport in 3rd, then SimRC.de Lemon in 4th, but have made the pit stop. Berlin Sim Sport 5th, War Dog 6th, Aggie Motorsports Blue in 7th, and SimRC.de Kiwi in 8th place. That's the top 8 of each of your categories here. Tobias Schultz, he's leading the queue of traffic here, and they have got the Team Vikings car between him and 2nd and 3rd. Away he goes then, green flag in the air once again. An hour and 51 minutes remaining in this race. It's ahead towards turn number 1 once again. That Simotok number 2 car coming under pressure from Black Adder Motorsports behind into that first chicane. Not able to make a move for the time being, and they'll want to get past that Team Vikings car, who of course are a number of laps down, and this one after their upside down moment at Rivazza earlier in this race. Into Tosa once again, and that battle for 2nd place still ongoing. It's just allowing Berlin Simsport to pull away at the front here in this one, and we've got another caution already, Randy.
And where did this one happen? Oh, another big incident.
Before turn number 1.
What has happened?
Well, but Roadbusters Blue are on the run there. Motef have gone down the middle. Oh no! The 117 went down the middle of 2 GT cars and ended up just getting caught between them.
That's another wheeled one as well, because there was plenty of space to get that move, and honestly, Moab should have been able to get that done. And then the gap just got. Actually, looking at it back, I think Moab may have came across the track a little bit, because the way the track curves, I don't know. I'd honestly put that one on the prototype. The gap was there. That said, the 91 did try to pinch pretty hard.
Well, the 191 is on the pit road now. Roadbusters Blue, Wolfgang Vildenoa